There you go. We're jumping right in. No, I'm not in the studio today. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. Um, Sorry, no theme song today because I don't have my board here. Is the audio? Also, I need to know, is the audio okay before I get started here today? I am using this lav mic. It should be okay. Oh boy, and fake Rollo's already in the house. You know, fake Rollo, I'll let you stay in. They didn't have an accident, but I know who you are now. Thanks very much. We've got your number now, brother. So yeah, they didn't have an accident. Trust me. Anyways, oh geez, am I good? Good. Audio's a little bit of an echo. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's going to be that way because I don't have any control in this. I got a pretty nice place here. Okay, good. I'm finally using the lav mic. I've got my remote rig, and this is sort of so, this is sort of a test run. So, but yesterday was my birthday. Thank you very much. I don't have any sound drops here because I need a mobile board. I need some kind of a mobile board, I think, if I'm going to do this like on the fly. Who is it? I know. So I thought maybe, hey, well, let's just do a quick Q&A, or let's do some sort of live stream. I got to give you something on my birthday, right? So yesterday was my birthday. I'll just let you just to fill you guys in on where I have been. I am in Scottsdale, Arizona, because I am doing work with Robert Kiyosaki, and it's top secret stuff. But well, yesterday was the day before that. I got in here on Friday, and Saturday morning I went and did the Rich Dad radio show with Ken McElroy and let's see, and Robert Kiyosaki's producer Sarah, and that should be coming out. I want to say probably like midweek. We'll see. It was a really good talk. A lot of these guys, a lot of people who are sort of not necessarily familiar or uninitiated to the manosphere, always want to ask me questions about. They want to ask me questions about like the state of masculinity. I think that's the big, like when we talk about crisis masculinity. You know, I've talked about this before with, like, I think it was Andrew Clavin and some of these other guys. Certainly Bill Maher, which, by the way, I got to explain what happened with Bill Maher too. HBO don't screw around, man. It's like, you know, F around and find out. That's what HBO doesn't give you warnings, by the way. And I knew I was going to get demonetized, but I did not know that it was going to get pulled like entirely. So you want to know what an incel is? I'll be happy to tell you what an incel is. So I'm going to do Q&As today, but the Bill, anyways, following up the Bill Maher show was, I thought a really great show. And I thought I made a lot of, you know, interesting points, but I did mention during that show, by the way, that it was probably going to get demonetized. I didn't know it was going to get entirely pulled. I didn't get a strike, so I had no copyright strike or anything. They just wanted me to pull the video, and they said I could put it back up if I cut out that part. So I did that. So if you go and you go back and I still felt there was enough like good substance in that video that even if I pulled out that part, it would still be pretty good. So that's what I did. I also talked about male birth control while I was there. And so I thought that was pretty good. So I left it there. And then Tom, my guy who does my clips, he just sort of mined it for clips. So it was still useful, but I kind of feel bad because the Bill Maher thing is sort of what I built the whole title of that thing on. So that's what happened with that. So if you say, hey, what happened to the Bill Maher part? It was clipped out. Yeah. I will be happy to answer any questions you have today. However, I do want to, I was actually going to start the show with this because I thought this was pretty funny, and I didn't have it queued up because I'm using my laptop. I just got a brand new laptop. I got a brand new MacBook Pro. I kind of treated myself. But I thought that this was really funny. So I'm going to put this on here real quick because some people were just asking me about like, what's an incel? So this is too good not to include in the birthday show. So let's see.
What do you think of her?
Natalie Portman, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10? Okay, see this? She's got smile lines. She doesn't have bottom earlobes. They're connected. That's a genetic defect. Look, her roots are coming in. So I'm going to give her, 1 out of 10.
Sydney Sweeney.
Her elbow is so sharp. If you watched S2EO3 of Euphoria, you would know that her breasts are not equal in size. That's a sign of bad genetics. Her fingers, they're not equidistal. Incredible. Elastigirl. I would like Elastigirl to stretch my penis. This is the best it gets right here. What is that? She's got a line. She's aging. Disgusting. This is a 2 out of 10. I'll give you 8 reasons why. Are you ready? Keep count of how many little dots I find.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
She looks like Smeagol from Lord of the Rings. Look at her straggling little hairs in the background. She just looks like she'd be lazy.
I like the way that she's laying on what looks to be polar bear's fur.
Yes, she does look like a child.
Cut that out. Okay. So picture this. I come to her room, knock on the door. I enter. Hello, Pokemon. I come over, I tap her on the shoulder. I smell. You smell the sweet scent of Victoria's Secret perfume. Taste it. Then I take her, I twist her face towards mine, I give her one single kiss, and then I suck on her tits for 10 seconds each. And then I exit.
You ever see her on the leaderboards?
Yeah.
No, you don't, because she's a fucking shit gamer, so that knocks off at least 3 more points. I'm gonna give her 3 out of 10. Her hair is perfect. Her eyes are perfect.
10 out of 10, Hatsune Miku.
She's perfectly symmetrical. She's the hottest female in the world. No one can top her. 8 out of 10. But she can top me.
8 out of 10.
I need to go to the water closet. Ow.
Hope you learned something today.
I think I may have some alone time with my shirt off.
Do you ever look at them?
Mm-hmm.
When you're...
Yeah.
If you look where her arm crease is, there's a wrinkle. Fat bitch.
Fat bitch.
Let me see your breasts again. 2 out of 10.
Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody said that to me, and they say this is like how incels rate women, and I thought it was kind of funny. I mean, it's meant to be funny. Okay, good. Take it as a joke. For crying out loud! I forget these guys' names. I just subbed to their channel too. I apologize for. I'll give you a plug. I promise. I'll put their link in the description. But I thought that was interesting because it sort of like speaks to the fact that it's. I don't want to call it like sour grapes because it's not even sour grapes. It's kind of like you're editing out or you're like filtering out like women because of these super high standards. What it's like being sent your own way as opposed to going your own way. So I thought that was I was going to lead off with that, but again, I'm using the remote thing here. So Abdul, yeah, sure. What is the evolutionary reason behind approach anxiety? Is the fear of your genes won't replicate? Actually, yes, but it's funny you should mention that because that, by the way, is in book 5, which I am announcing right now will be out by the end of next week, depending on when I get the Kindle book back from my editor. So the book is done. And the layout is done and the cover is done. And I'm going to announce probably about midweek when the actual release date is. If you are a Patreon subscriber and if you are on my mailing list, which is the Rational Male, M-A-I-L, you can, by the way, you can get on the mailing list. Just go to therationalmale.com on my website, which is horribly old now. And I'm going to update as soon as the 5th book drops. But the book is done. And the Kindle is being compiled right now. So I usually farm that job out and my editor does the work for that. So I should have that back sometime about midweek. And then if you are on my Patreon, if you're one of my Patreon subscribers, or if you are on the mailing list, you've already been getting like chapters, like bonus chapters and just like regular chapters that are like preview chapters there. But you'll get first dibs at it. I don't usually do pre-sales, but I think I might just for 1 week, just to throw a bone to my Patreon people and my mailing list people. So you'll be able to get you'll get advanced notice of it anyways. And I'm still deciding on how I'm going to go about delivering it. I'm going to use Amazon for sure, but I am curious to use a third-party service like maybe BookBaby or something like that, so it gets to a broader audience. It is about game. It is it's called the Player's Handbook. It is the missing textbook for all your game gurus and your dating coaches. I'm not a dating coach. I say so in the introduction. But this is the missing textbook that probably your dating coaches have. I keep the reason I wrote it. I should probably explain. The reason I wrote the 5th book and I really compiled it, and then I wrote probably about half of it is original, and then half of it is updated parts from that, posts that I have put up. That like when I was writing the 4th book, when I was writing religion. I was still, then I was still posting regularly on therationalmale.com. And so I took a lot of the more pertinent essays and I rewrote them as chapters for this book. And then, so about half of it is new material and half of it is newer material from my blog. So the reason why I put it together is because I had so many people asking me like, Rollo, what's the best book to learn game? Because it's like this enigmatic, mysterious thing. And like they think it's like this, like game is something that's, first of all, that it's hard to figure out, and that it's like, it takes a lot of like time and energy and effort. And I mean, it does. I mean, it's definitely a skill, but it's social skills. And I think a lot of guys are very intimidated by having to learn social skills and bust themselves down to say like apprenticeship level to learn really basic social skills. And it's really hard, I think, because you kind of have to get over yourself when you're saying, okay, here's how I'm going to interact with not just women, but like with other men as well. So it's meant to be a bridge, I guess, between the red pill and game and in practice. So that's why I put it together. However, Abdul, I did, in fact, there's a full dedicated chapter to approach anxiety that's in there. And from an evolutionary perspective, just hear me out here. I'm sorry that the lighting in here can I pull this up a little bit? I wonder if I can get a little more light in here. From an evolutionary perspective, the reason why guys get approach anxiety is, yes, there's a genetic factor. That's the function, I should say. You hit upon the function because you said, what'd you say here? Is the fear of your genes won't replicate. Yes, but it's also reprisal. And the reason why we have like men are jealous, the reason why men mate guard, the reason why men are like suspicious, like when I have guys say, Rollo, I think my girlfriend's cheating on me. Should I go snoop through her phone? That impulse, that incentive to go and do something like that is an innate part of men's like psyche. It's the way our brains are wired. It's part of our what I call our evolutionary firmware. Now, how did it become that is the real kind of interesting thing. And really what I speculate, and I think a lot of other evolutionary psychologists speculate, is that the reason why guys get nervous is because it was a survival adaptation. Now you have to remember that when we develop that sort of psychological fear or that hesitancy to approach a woman, it was developed in a time where we lived in hunter-gatherer tribes and usually in collectives of not more than 100 to 150 people. And then from there, it escalated from there, okay? So in a small group community from back in our ancestral past, again, I don't pretend to be an evolutionary psychologist. This is just what I read and what I've heard, that back in our evolutionary past, to approach an eligible, fertile, young female came with a lot of risks for guys. And it could be a social risk. It could be ostracization. It could also be the risk that that female was taken by another male tribe member. And so you had to sort of hesitantly get into the mode of like, okay, is she single? Can I get with it? Is she available? And not knowing that per se, or maybe even knowing that, it instills a sense of hesitancy in most men. Even in guys who are like, very confident guys still get approach anxiety as a result of our sort of evolutionary wiring, like our evolutionary firmware. So you think about it, in our evolutionary past, if you didn't know for sure that you could hit it and quit it, or you could ejaculate and evacuate, if you didn't know you could do that, there's a fear of reprisal there. So maybe her father comes after you, maybe her brother comes after you. It's what's known as kin altruism. So if you made an approach on the wrong girl or a taken woman in that tribe, it could mean death. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because from what I've read from like Steve Stewart Williams, and I want to also say, I think it was Dr. Hector Garcia in Alpha God. I think he also covered this. There are certain tribes still around today that are technically hunter-gatherer tribes. One of them is called the Yanomamo. And if you're not a powerful man and you try to poach one of the females that is attached to a more powerful man, that could be a death sentence for you. Like they will just basically come and kill you. So when you think about our ancestral past and you think about like where we developed from and where we evolved from, it stands to reason that there's this innate sort of fear in approaching women. And can you get over that? Yes, you can. Here's the good news is you can actually override that conditioning, just like a lot of other things too. So it's an instinct in men is to be hesitant about approaching women. There's also so reprisal is one. The other is a fear of rejection, but you have to remember that the fear of rejection comes from botching an approach. So if you were to just say you were in a tribe in somewhere in 100,000 years ago, and you approached a woman and you start chatting her up or whatever else, and for whatever reason it was going well, and then suddenly she rejects you, or you don't do the socially approved, culturally contextual behavior or speech or whatever it is, and you get rejected for whatever reason. It could be a cultural, it could be something stupidly social, right? What happens then is you also have the fear of approach because of that rejection, and the rejection, it kind of locks in with what you were saying about, not passing your seed on to the next generation, but it has even bigger consequences for men, because if you screw it up, what happens? She goes and tells her friend, and and women talk and women talk and women talk. And so all of a sudden, everybody in the tribe knows that you screwed up with your approach with this girl. So it's a possibility. There's other adaptations, let's just be honest. Okay. But there's a possibility exists and the potential exists that you might not pass your genes on to the next generation because you botched the approach and everyone ostracized you and you are no longer appropriate, or there's something wrong with you, or maybe you're not mentally there, or you're just sort of like, that getting that reputation could also be a limiting factor in, again, passing on your DNA. So again, it's when people ask me about like jealousy, like why do guys get jealous? Like men and women get jealous for different reasons. The reason why men get jealous when it comes to like infidelity, for instance, or the reason we mate guard so hardcore even today is, and we get like crazy and insane, like to the point where like we're ready to kill another dude as a result of that. The reason we do that is because the guys who did get jealous in our evolutionary past, they are the ones that passed on their genes into the next generation, so to make more jealous human males in the future. The same thing happens with other things like approach anxiety, for that matter. So it's better to err on the side of caution, if that makes any sense. And so that caution, that's part of your natural wiring. It ends up manifesting today in 2022 as approach anxiety. Boom, there you go. That's in a nutshell, that's what approach anxiety is, Abdul. There is your $10 Canadian dollars. Thank you very much. Yes, my birthday was yesterday. I had a great time, by the way. I spent 6 or 7 hours with Robert Kiyosaki, Ken McElroy, and about 35 other people doing some, like I said, top secret work right now. I don't know how much I can talk about it, so I'm just going to sort of keep it low key, because I know that as soon as I announce it, that somebody's going to put a hit piece video out on Rollo, the fraud Tomassi. So keeping that under my hat. But one thing I can announce although is like I said, I did the Rich Dad radio show yesterday with Ken McElroy. Ken is a great guy. I have to get Ken on my show. In fact, I almost want to include Ken in Rule Zero. That's how tight we are now. We went and had a really, like the night I got in here on April 1st on Friday, we went out to a really nice restaurant here in Scottsdale. It's called, I think it's Tomasso's, which oddly enough, I thought they were trying to be cute, right? But it's called Tomasso's. It's a really nice, fine, like high-end Italian restaurant. So it's in Scottsdale. Please go. If you're ever in Scottsdale, go check it out. I love Scottsdale, by the way. Whenever I go to a new place, I kind of go, I wonder if I'd like to live here, right? I go to Dallas, probably not. Houston, it's okay, but it's not my cup of tea. If I go to Miami, I would go, but I think my dogs would lose their minds, and I can't really live in Miami. So if I looked at, say, like Cape Coral, or I looked at Fort Lauderdale, that maybe there. But I got here into Scottsdale, and I am in Civic Center Drive, somewhere around like where the party center, like ASU is like probably like 5 miles from here, not even that. And it is definitely a party town. And of course, there was March Madness in the finals, and everything was going on. And I guess it's April Madness. So there was the finals, anyways. I think it was Duke and something in playing basketball. So it was crazy last night. And by the way, just so you know, I was done with our sort of seminar, our powwow, our big powwow. Me and Robert. I was done. I changed clothes, went over, and I'm like, I was starving. So I went over and I got like street tacos from one of these vendors out here. And it's really great. But I'm there, and before I even get to the taco stand, I'm hit up by like 4 or 5 college age guys who notice me because I'm wearing the hat, and they sort of know my look. And so they go, Rollo? And I'm like, yeah. And so I talked to them. I'm shaking hands. I could not believe, like, I usually get noticed if I'm in Miami, if I'm somewhere that like a bigger like metropolis. So sometimes I'll get like Rollo'd. It was weird. I almost had to like sort of like, duck and hide because there's so many people out there, and I was getting recognized left and right. And so I talked with a guy last night. I want to see his name was Miguel. I talked to him, and I think it's Miguel or Mike. I can't remember. But sort of talked to a bunch of guys while I'm waiting for tacos. I got my tacos, and I was just hanging out on the street, just eating tacos and talking to guys. And it was like just sort of spur of the moment kind of thing. It was like one of the best birthdays. I'll always remember this birthday because of that. So. But so if I met with you last night here out on the street, thanks for making my birthday a great birthday. Let's see, Mitch, what did you say? Thanks, Rollo. I went from serial monogamy and serial zeroing out over the past 12 years to spinning 2 40-year-old spinners, 2 40-year-old spinners, and a 28-year-old with an OnlyFans. That's what you guys meant by bush leagues. Bush leagues, yeah, bush leagues. Excuse me. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen it, last week I did a video with George Gammon. It was about 1 hour and 20 minutes, I think. It was it was on the same day that the Chris Rock thing went down. So no, it would have been Monday, I think, of last week. So a week ago tomorrow. And I totally expected George Gammon to ask me about the Chris Rock thing, but we didn't talk about that. We talked about birth rates, fertility rates. We talked about Malthusian economics, right? The population control side of things, which ended up becoming I don't think I've really got in depth into something like that, well, certainly ever. So I talked about that with George Gammon. It was a really good show. Do go check that out. I'll see if I can dig the link up and put it in here for you guys. What else do we got? No, this is not a pre-record. No. I'm actually 100% live right now. See? What's the book called? The book is called The Player's Handbook, The Definitive Guide to Game. That's what it's going to be called. But on the cover, it'll be the Rational Male, The Player's Handbook. That's what it'll be. Let's see. Oh no. Okay, let's keep going. Keep going. Thank you for all the birthday wishes, man. I come back from all this stuff that I'm doing a working birthday, by the way. This is like, I'm doing the work on my birthday, just so you guys know. I didn't really have any kind of celebration until like about 7 o'clock, Arizona time yesterday. Happy birthday. Lots of wishes. Thank you. If I don't get back to you on Instagram, I did see your thing. It's just like, I got a lot of messages yesterday. Let's see. I can't put that one up, but I really want to respond to that one. I've noticed that the concept of frame is hard to grasp. Define for a lot of red pillars. Will we get a book tutorial for it? Actually, you do in this book, as a matter of fact, because I talk about money, muscles, and game, and then frame. So, person I'm struggling. Okay, so what is? I can give you the brief rundown really quickly. But in the player's handbook, and then in the book 5 that's coming out soon, next week, by the way, just hear me out. When I talk about frame, one of the things that I'm glad he did. One thing that John from Modern Life Dating did was he sort of included frame into money, muscles, and game. And if you look at it, that's kind of like the holy trifecta of masculine male self-improvement, or whatever you want to call it. So most guys have a problem with one of those 3 aspects of their development. And usually, and honestly, it's usually your muscles. It's usually your body at this point. Because if you think about it statistically, what is it? 75% of the U.S. population, the United States population, is overweight, and 35% of men are morbidly obese, and 40%, by the way, 5% more women are morbidly obese in the United States. So that's probably your first problem right there. That's the I think, just statistically speaking, that's probably where you want to go with that. But that is an element of frame. Same thing with your money and your status and your affluence, and sort of where you are in the cultural socioeconomic hierarchy. That's what I would, make money side of things. That's kind of like what I've been dipping my toes into recently with Robert Kiyosaki and Ken McElroy, George Gammon, a lot of the people that I do work with when I do the Rebel Capitalist stuff. By the way, I'm going to be at the Collective, which is a private community of George Gammon's. I'll be doing a private talk with his collective group middle of May. It will be the 14th and 15th of May, right before I go and speak at the CME, which will be the week after that. That is Donovan Sharp's convention, and it will most likely be the premier convention for masculine male self-improvement. I don't even want to say self. I hate using that term. But one thing that Donovan has done, the reason why I signed on for this one and I didn't sign on for the last one in Vegas, is because I think that Donovan has definitely upped his game. It's going to be in Miami. And I'll give you a little bit more detail about that later on. But if you're wanting to develop frame, if you don't understand the concept of frame, it's literally iron rule of Tomassi number 1. Again, that's not a rule set. That's just, this is observation. This is an observation set. I'll talk about categories and stuff like that later on. But frame is, in my opinion, in my estimate, is the sum total of money, muscles, and game. I don't see it as a separate element. I see it as the sum total of all those 3 elements together. And the reason why I say that is because when we talk about being in frame or being out of frame, that's not a game term. That's not, the pickup artists didn't create frame. Okay, that's a psychological, sociological term. So it goes back to, I want to say, the 60s or the 70s. I forget what the psychologist or the sociologist was that coined that term. But the frame, the psychological frame, is who are you working for? Whose world are you in? And I think probably the easiest way to illustrate this is to try to give you like sort of an extreme example. So when you're talking about people who have like pathological personalities, or people who are like say Tinder swindler or Steve Jobs, or I've just been watching We Work or We Crash right now, and I think it's Adam Newman. these are pathological personalities that people buy into. And if you've ever read the autobiography or the biography of Steve Jobs, anyone who has said that they've known him or worked with him, before he died, said that he had what was called a reality distortion bubble. And he would think about things, or want things a certain way, or he want the iPhone to be like this, or he didn't want a stylus for it. He didn't want, there was like these really, like, guys would go, why is he so crazy about this? It seems like this would be a better idea. But if you worked with that guy and you locked into his frame, then he is the one who is dictating sort of like your reality for that moment, right? So he has a world into which other people want to be a part of. So that, and I'm using him as an extreme example. You can also put this to like really, like Elon Musk might be one of those. Like there's the guys who have this reality distortion bubble, guys who are like almost like sociopathic as a result of this. They tend to be either the greatest inventors and the greatest, they're kind of esoteric, kind of like, eclectic sort of crazy guys, but they're wonderful inventors and they give something back to humanity. And then there's guys who are cult leaders and pathological killers, right? And we tend to look at just the extremes when we talk about those kind of guys. The one I'm watching the Adam Newman thing when he did WeWork, and his wife, by the way, Rivka, is also kind of a pathological personality herself. And so when you get those two people together, pathological personalities tend to attract other pathological personalities into their orbit. But in terms of frame, one of the things that the early pickup artists and really Red Pill picked up on as well later on was that you have to have a world into which that woman wants to enter. Because either you're going to set the frame or she's going to set the frame. And I said this in everything. I've done lots and lots of essays on frame, by the way. But when I talk about frame, it's really from a masculine perspective. It's the world that you create that women want to or don't want to be a part of or be associated with. So if you're a famous actor or a rapper, or you have like a kind of this really wild ass lifestyle, maybe you're just some kind of like struggling, starving artist, or, tortured soul of some sort. It doesn't have to be necessarily good. It doesn't have to necessarily be bad. I mean, there can be dysfunctional frames and there can be very highly functional frames. It just depends on whose frame you are operating in. My suggestion is always to, understand at least whose frame you're operating in. So if you punch in and work, 8 hours, 9 hours a day, and you have a supervisor, you have a boss, or you have somebody who's sort of like above you in the hierarchy, you're in their frame for the remainder of the day, for 40 hours a week, if that's what you do. So that's from a financial, from a working perspective, that could be that. If you have a very domineering father or a domineering mother, you're in their frame. As soon as you walk into the house on Thanksgiving Day, you're in their frame because it's mom, whatever mom says goes, right? So there's that kind of disciplinarian side of it. There's an authoritarian aspect that can be applied to it as well. So essentially what you want to do as a man when it comes to controlling frame, or it comes to like establishing frame, that is usually the result of money, muscles, and game. Like, so the holy trifecta, right? If you are on board, or if you have, you're not deficient in any one of those, men tend to have a stronger frame. If you're high, you want to know what defines a high value man? It's having high value in all three of those respects. And that total summation of those three ends up becoming his frame. That's the world into which a woman wants to enter into, even if it's just for a short-term, same night lay, or it's a long-term, we're going to get married kind of thing, or we're going to have a long-term relationship. So the frame that you start the relationship out in is the one that sets the theme for that relationship. So is it possible that you could have held frame as a single guy before you entered into a long-term relationship? Yeah, it happens all the time. I have so many guys that will say, "Oh, I lost frame. How do I get it back?" Whether or not they had it in the first place is kind of arguable, but let's just say for sake of argument that you could do something like that happened. It's usually because they were on top of their game. They had frame, they had money, muscles, game. They were the complete package, right? Like women will say. And women wanted to enter into that. And then once they got into the long-term relationship, they go, "Oh, I can finally be myself. I can let down the act. I can let down my hair, right? I can relax. I can be vulnerable with her. Blah blah blah. I can buy into all the nonsense BS that I've been told on Oprah and every girl's ever told me. So now I can finally be myself, right? Well, yourself isn't who she fell in love with. She fell in love with you and your frame. You have to have a world into which that woman wants to enter, and that world better be goddamn authentic. So that's my brief breakdown of frame for this one, because I want to keep moving on to some other stuff. Fake Rollo. Hi, Fake Rollo. You know what, Fake Rollo, if you just, I will let you stay. I promise you, I will let you stay in the chat if you just go back to, what was your other name? Somebody told me what your real name was. You could stay in the chat. I won't mess with you. Just don't spoof my account. Sam Whiskey, happy birthday, Godfather. A man is a creator and a woman is a muse. A man without a muse fails to create. Is this why men fear losing their female partners? Okay, well, the muse whole thing is like the myth of the soulmate. So that's a derivative, let's just say, of the myth of the soulmate. You really want me to get into the myth? Okay, so the myth is this, is that you need a muse. The myth is this, is that you need some sort of purpose or some sort of qualifier. The muse comes to you. The myth of the muse, by the way, is sort of like it's a play on the feminine mystique. So if you look in the past, if you look at like past mythology, like the Oracle of Delphi, or the sorceress woman, or especially if you go and you look at like what's becoming more and more popular, like because I'm from Scandinavian stock. I'm Danish by nationality, by ethnicity, I guess. But if you go and you look at like shows like Last Kingdom or Vikings, or it's very popular right now. Northman, I kind of want to go. There's a movie called Northman. I kind of want to see if it was well done enough. I try to look for the ones that are more historically accurate. But when they want to throw a woman into the mix and those shows, she always is the rune reader. She's the witch doctor, right? She's this force of nature. And either she's this strong, independent woman who goes and, she can wield an axe like anybody else, or maybe some combination of the sorceress, the seer, the fortune teller, the psychic reader. And it's always, again, chick crack. And that's really where the muse comes from, because a lot of guys seem to think that they need some purpose or some soulmate to be creative, or to be to inspire them to greater feats of majesty, right? Whether that's in battle, or that's an artist, or that's in poetry, or that's Sid and Nancy, or the Sex Pistols, or whatever it is. If you look at any like really like famous dysfunctional couples, that guy will probably say, "Oh, she's my muse. I couldn't live without her." Right. Same thing with, funny you should say that, because it's pretty much the same dynamic going on between Adam Newman and Rivka in We Crash, which is, by the way, it's a pretty good series. If you're into it, I thought it was a pretty good series. But there's always got to be some purpose, right? There's always got to be, and it always, beware of making women your muse. Beware of making women the reason why you want to excel and be your commitment to excellence, right? We always say, "Oh, chase excellence, my friend." Well, if you chase excellence because your muse expects you to, or because I shouldn't say expect, inspires you to, then you remove that and it's your Achilles heel and you have nothing else there. So beware of that mythology, because really it's been installed in, I think, really for a long, it's an archetype, right? So it's been installed in the fabric of human social conditions for a very long time. And it doesn't have to be a muse. It could be like, "Oh, she's my reason for being. She's my better half." Get out of here. I'm trying not to swear, at least for the first hour of this show. I really want to. Newer listener here, have you ever read Neil Strauss's sequel to the game called The Truth? Yes, I have. And it is a complete, absolute washout puss fest for a guy who otherwise brilliantly and entertainingly wrote the game. If you know anything about Neil Strauss's history, and you know anything about Nita Strauss, who, by the way, made a pretty good name, made a really good name for herself as a guitarist. She used to be the lead guitarist for Hole, for Courtney Love's Hole, and she's doing her own thing right now. I don't know if is she in a band? Occasionally, I'll get a feed, or I'll get something from her in my YouTube, right? Oh, check out Nita Strauss. I think Nita Strauss is actually playing at the Brew House in Reno pretty soon. I might go down and see her. Maybe I'll go. Should I go run game on Nita Strauss? No, but Neil Strauss, if you know anything about him and you know any of his sort of post mystery method, so post game years, like his writings and his talks and everything else, I mean, I can understand why Nita Strauss would have left him. Yeah. His frame, very, very weak. Just because by the way, just because you know game does not necessarily mean you're red pill, by the way. You can be just like mystery. I hate to even use mystery because it's 20 years ago, but I hate to use even those names right now because those are guys who learned how to get laid. They learned the process. They learned the game very well, but they never became red pill. They were blue pill guys who are like master pickup artists because they always wanted to use that game to fulfill their blue pill fantasies. And that's what I keep saying is you have to kill the beta. You have to become red pill. I can teach a blue pill guy, the nuts and bolts of running game or the routines. Anybody can do that. People are making a good living on that for like 20 plus years right now. But learning red pill is something you have to like the red pill awareness, the theory, and that's the underlies most really modern game right now, is something that has to be internalized. It has to be something that you come to. And I'm afraid to say, but I mean, I don't know how he is now, but I know Mystery was like suicidal, and people go, "Oh, see, that game stuff will make you suicidal." No, it's just that he never made the connection. It's not because he knew game. It's not because he could get laid when, fairly predictably, let's just say. He understood intersexual dynamics in a way that like very few people did. I definitely one of my inspirations. Big ups to Mystery. And there's other people as well. I mean, I think he was the first one to really connect a lot of these dots. But it's a little bit long in the tooth right now. It's a little bit old news because while the principles and the fundamentals are still unchanged, because the human machine is unchanged, the times do change. So like doing this or talking to people on using your cell phone to source women, they didn't have that in 2002. The women are physiologically, women are still the same, but technologically, they're different. So you kind of have to update things. And I think game and I think the red pill has to be something. That's why I keep calling it a praxology, by the way. It's not set in stone. If something comes out tomorrow and they says, "Oh, well, hypergamy doesn't really work. It's bullshit. Here it is. Here it is, black and white, 100%, mathematically proven." Okay, I guess I'm going to have to alter my understanding of things. And then we go and create a new predictive framework out of something new. Until such time, until that happens, well, I'm going with what the best practices are. But as far as like somebody like Neil Strauss is concerned, they were going by the best information and knowledge that they had at that time. So when I read him kind of doing this renunciation of the game in the truth, you also have to look at what the routine is, like what the cycle is for something like that. A lot of guys go through this process. Roosh, for instance, Tucker Max, for instance. A lot of these guys, Goldman, by the way, is another one who I like. Is a good friend of mine. Go through these cycles of being able to run game, get laid, and then they realize they can't use that game to get their dream girl because the dream girl is a fantasy and a myth that is constantly disproven by the fact that game works on women. They're looking for the kind of woman that game shouldn't work on. They're looking for the kind of woman where understanding her nature and your nature and intersexual dynamics, they want this woman who's like this, like I'm saying, like this one of the reasons I led off with the, what are incels looking for? It's always this, she's got this little, she's got a micro inch here and she's just not perfect or she's aging, right? Oh, look at all these little dots on her kind of thing. Right. If you're constantly looking for that perfection, now it's meant to be humorous. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking it seriously. But when you look at guys who have this ideal, that's why I keep saying there's no such thing as a quality woman they run me up the flagpole whenever I say that. I said, there's no such thing as a quality woman, because a quality woman is an ideal. It's a myth. It's this ideal woman that, like, she's a virgin bride and she's all this stuff and she's not on OnlyFans and she's not a hoe. And she'd never go on Fresh and Fit and she doesn't have any social media and she's just there waiting for you as this perfect ideal woman. I mean, I'm exaggerating, of course, but there's this almost like unbelievable ideal that guys have. And if you get into game and you have that as your sort of your blue pill ideal, when you learn game, because what you're doing now isn't working for you and you want to be able to say, clearly what I'm doing is not getting me what I want. So I'm going to learn this process. I'm going to learn about myself. I'm going to learn about women's nature, my nature. I'm going to learn about intersexual dynamics, red pill, whatever. And if you're using that to get to this unrealistic ideal, which is this, blue pill, fantasy girl, your virgin bride quality woman fantasy, you're going to be disappointed. And if you're really invested in that ideal, you might get suicidal. You might actually convert to Orthodox Christianity. It worked. That's the problem. The problem with Roosh, the problem with Tucker Max, the problem with Neil Strauss is it works. It works. And in it working and in understanding women's nature, men get despondent. And the reason they get despondent is because they're trying to achieve this ideal that doesn't exist. And so they're like, well, that's why I wrote one of the very earliest essays I ever wrote came from one of my very earliest posts on SoSuave was called Dream Girls and Children with Dynamite. And the reason I use that as sort of this essay to describe what I'm saying right here, Neil Strauss and Tucker Max and these guys who go through these cycles, the reason I wrote that is I saw this way early on. That's why I wrote that. If you go back to my SoSuave, you'll find Dream Girls and Children with Dynamite as I think it's probably still on there. I don't think they've deleted any of my old work, but you can certainly find it on my blog from back in 2011. You can find it in the first book. It's called Dream Girls and Children with Dynamite. And I wrote that because I saw early on that guys like Mystery, guys like Tucker Max, guys, and then again, it cycles through, they're game masters. Like they can get laid. They know what to say. They know how to calibrate. It's down to a freaking science for these guys. But they want to use that to get their dream girl that doesn't actually exist. And it's really hard for them to let go of that ideal because what they're doing is working, and what they would want in a woman is not going to be what game would work upon, right? The quality woman, game doesn't work on a quality woman. You have to be down to earth and you have to have this meeting of the souls and that kind of stuff. And until you can let go of that ideal, you're never going to kill the beta, first off. Like people say, how do I kill the beta, Rollo? You keep talking about, kill the beta before it kills you. Well, the first step is let go of this fantasy of a quality woman ideal. People use that on me all the time. They say, well, Rollo thinks there's no such thing as a quality woman. Are some women better than others? Are some women poison, toxic, and some women? Yeah, of course. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is this fantasy that there's this woman out there that exists that is this perfect match for you. It's very much an attachment to the soulmate myth. So there's very much this back and forth, and these guys really have these unrealistic ideals for their dream girl. Well, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, there you go. Are you going to do a podcast with Owen Cook? I think it can bring a lot of value to your fans and even get you some new fans. I'm not against it. I just don't know how to facilitate something like that. And then if you notice, I did do a very impromptu meetup with Owen on Fresh and Fit. He just happened to come in there. Casey, who is Fresh's roommate, knows Owen. And so he happened to be in Miami at that time. And I was on with him for about a half an hour at the end of one of my shows. I don't think I think Owen's done with not social dynamics, but he's done with game. He's done with the stuff that I talk about. So as exciting as that might be, I think it might be a little kind of I hate to say it, might be a little snooze fest, Okay. Is it even worth cold approaching? Depends. It seems it's inefficient, but it can help you get over the fear of rejection. Well, yeah. So as a practice, sure. If you have a problem, by the way, I made sure that I mentioned this in the introduction of the fifth book, is game is not going to help you if you are autistic. Okay. Game is not, understand this now. I need to emphasize this because I made a big, like, full up paragraph of this in the introduction of book 5. I think too many people go, well, if Rollo would just write a book on game, then I could get over my social awkwardness, right? Or I'm clinically on the Asperger's syndrome spectrum, right? I'm functionally autistic. And there's a lot of guys that are, because if you go and look, I've shown you guys do I have the data? I might still have that in my brand data. Do I have that? I guess not. No, I got all the Will Smith data in there. Sorry, my bad. Anyways, incidence of autism from like the late 90s, like 98, all the way up to where we're right now has just skyrocketed. So whether that's like clinical or that's prescribed or that's diagnosed, I don't know. But if you think that game is going to help you get over your Asperger's syndrome, don't buy the book. Seriously, I'll tell you right now, don't do it, because if you think that it's going to help you in the terms of, getting over autism or getting over your social awkwardness or whatever you want to call it, don't buy it as therapy. I am not a therapist, and especially when I meet guys who hit me up and they say, Rollo, I really need help, but I need a one-on-one, and I'll go, well, okay, first of all, here's what I charge, here's my policies, blah, blah, blah. And in those policies, I say this, I said, if at any time I think you need a professional help, like you need a clinical psychologist, I reserve the right to like opt out and like say and refer you to a clinical psychologist, because I don't have a doctorate. Okay. I'm a good analyst. I can give you analysis of your situation, but I am not going to give you prescriptions, and I am not going to give you any kind of doctorly advice, because that's not me. And I would never pretend to do something like that, although I know plenty of people who do. However, I think that like cold approaching, I think a lot of people get really nervous about that, particularly guys who are more introverted. And that's more and more guys right now, because we are socializing men to be introverts. And that's, not to say that there isn't some sort of like genetic component to that too. There is. But when we have told generations of men to man down, instead of man, then they tell them man up. But yeah, it's intimidating. Cold approaching is intimidating. So that's what happens is guys end up relying on buffers. I mentioned that in the very first book. This is a buffer, right? This is a buffer. What I'm doing with you right now, you asking me this question, is a buffer technically. Don't become over-reliant on buffers. People say, oh, my text game is real solid. Yeah, but you know what would be better for you is if you learned actual face-to-face social skills. I mentioned this on Fresh and Fit too, because a lot of these guys were like saying, oh man, you just source them online and you see them there, and you go through Instagram and you go through Seeking Arrangements, you go through whatever dating app you're using, which is all image based right now. You use that and this is how you get the girls and blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. What do you do when you're face-to-face? Finally. Sorry, my mic is fucking around. So what do? Like, you have to have some sort of game at that point. And by game, I mean, you have to have social skills. Maybe we should stop calling it game for a little while before we like move into tactics and move into like thinking about certain things, applying red pill to social dynamics or social skills, let's just say. People get all hung up on game because they think, oh, well, Mystery's going to teach me. He's got black fingernail polish and a feather boa and everything like that. That's not social skills. I could never cold approach like that. And no one would expect you to either. But you can be like a cool guy. You can go up and actually be a conversationalist. You can learn those skills. So is it worth cold approaching? It depends. If you're just like raw right now and you know nothing, you're like very kind of socially awkward. Yeah, don't. Like, learn social skills before you go and attempt those things. And then the other thing is, this is something else that's in the book, by the way, is learning, if eventually you want to do cold approaches, you have to get over the fear of not necessarily rejection, but also being outcome dependent. thinking, okay, I'm out here just to have a good time. I'm gonna screw around. If she says yes, great. If she says no, it's okay. I'm not going to take it personally. That's the problem, I think, is that guys with like really low social intelligence, they take everything they analyze everything. It's like, she was just a bitch. She's just some bitch that you met out on the street here with dozens of other bitches that are out there. And that's gonna like it stabs me, it wounds me to the soul. No, it doesn't. Shut up. Just go out there and go get back on the goddamn horse again. Do you want to go and do cold sales or telephone calls or whatever else? No, you don't want to do that. And I wouldn't suggest anybody go out and do cold approaches until they have developed those social skills. And there's techniques and there's practices you can do that help you out with it. Let's see. Who else? Thank you for all of the birthday well wishes. I am answering questions today. Thank you. Even the ones that just give me nice little things. Can you go into more detail about demonstrate, do not explicate when it comes to boundaries? Yes, very simple. Demonstrate your boundaries. And the easiest way to sort of get that in your head is, like, I hate to use Myron as an example of this, but Myron he has a very short like fuse. I don't want to say fuse. He's not an asshole. It's just that he has a very low tolerance for bullshit. And he has a very low tolerance for disrespect, which is an admirable quality if you think about it, because he's not wasting time. He's not wasting time with you as a guy, and he's not wasting time with me, or he's not wasting time with women, whatever it is. At the very least, he understands when he gets to what I call the point of diminishing returns. So when he gets to that point, that's when he Frank Castles a girl off of the show. That's demonstrate, do not explicate. You'll notice that there's no warning. For the most part, there's no warning. All right, you're out. That's pretty much, that's it. That's demonstrate, do not explicate. You'll see that pretty much every time you see Fresh and Fit with the After Hours show. When they don't get copyright strikes, when they don't get nudity strikes, and when they don't get quote unquote hate speech strikes from the same person. Yeah, that's not, that it's a zero tolerance policy. So if you can initiate that, now how do you get to that point is really what you're asking. Most guys, when they ask me, how can you go into demonstrate, not explicate? It's usually understanding the social situation between you and whoever you are going to demonstrate things with. It is much more effective. Like again, something else people argue with me with is that it's much more effective to actually explain, or not explain, but demonstrate boundaries through punishment or it can be through reward, by the way, too, than it is to say to issue an ultimatum. And I have famously said this, and I think this is my first book, is ultimatums are declarations of powerlessness. It means that I'm so powerless that if you don't do this, then I'm going to do this. And that sounds like, say what you mean and mean what you say. It means nothing, especially to women. It means nothing, zero. You know what it says to women? He is so optionless that he's so desperate that he's going to act like a petulant child to tell me what he's going to do if I do X, Y, or Z. I'm going to slap this bitch up and tell her how things are, right? Well, the fact that you're at the point where you would have to tell her that in the first place, that should be your first indicator that you need to demonstrate, not explicate. So I use this example all the time when people ask me this. They say, well, Rollo, my girlfriend wants to go do a girls' night out. She wants to do a girls' weekend in Vegas. And she promises me it's going to be completely just a fun time for her and her girlfriends to catch up and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, what should I do? You already know what you should do. You say, yes, go right ahead. Have fun. Go. Yeah, get up. Yeah, here, I'll help you pack. Yeah, let her go. Let her go. Because she's going to, it's not that you'll probably feel jealous. You're probably like, well, what the hell is this all about? Why does she want to go do something like this? Blah, blah, blah. Why is this a good idea? So demonstrate, not explicate. She comes back and all her shit's on the sidewalk. You lock the door, change the locks, kick her ass out. Say, you can come get your stuff. Or, take it over to her mom's place while she's gone. That's the demonstration. Now, is that the extreme demonstration? Yes, absolutely it is. But the reason why you're demonstrating that is because that's the only way you teach an animal is through pain or through consequences. That's how most people learn. That's how most animals learn. And it's, again, this is behavioral psych 101, but I think it was in, what was it, 48 Laws of Power. That's where that comes from. That's where that idea comes from. Demonstrate, do not explicate. Anytime you win through negotiation, it's a pyrrhic victory, right? You might win, but the cost that it came with, your victory or winning, it comes with, is worse than actually the benefits of the victory, right? So demonstrate, do not explicate. If you have boundaries, if you say, okay, these are my boundaries. The only way the child learns to not touch the hot stove is by touching the hot stove. And sometimes you have to be the stove. So that's what I mean by demonstrating boundaries. Now, does it have to be as extreme as that? No, it doesn't. But you can build it up incrementally. The problem with the girls' night out scenario there is not her asking permission. It's not you being put on the spot like that. She knows you're going to be jealous. She knows what the suspicion is. She knows what the implications are. She's going to Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Shit, what happens in Scottsdale stays in Scottsdale, right? You know the reputation. You know what happens on these things. The other thing is how long have I been with this woman? And are we in a monogamous, committed relationship? And does she have genuine desire for me, right? If she has genuine desire for you, the idea of going out with her girlfriends to Vegas is less appealing than spending the weekend with you. Why are you having that conversation in the first place? You have to go back to square one, go find the root of the whole thing. The problem isn't her asking permission. The problem is her wanting to go in the first place. So how do you determine that? Well, zero tolerance, first of all. And then second of all, it's incremental. Again, like I said, you don't have to do something as drastic as putting all her shit out on the sidewalk and when she comes back from Vegas and she's like, oh, I got no place to live. I go live with my mom, right? That's a really hard lesson to learn, but maybe that's what you need to do in order to sort of say, these are the boundaries. And you cross those boundaries and these are the consequences. Because if you talk about it and you explicate those boundaries and the consequences, here's what's going to happen. If you do these things, you're negotiating desire. I don't want negotiated desire. I don't want you to even ask me the question, can I go with my girlfriends to Vegas, or can I go do this? Or what do you think about, I'm going to go talk to my old boyfriend. Is that all right? Yeah, it's fine. Go do it. If a woman's going to cheat on you, she's going to cheat on you. Now I'm using that as the example. There's other things that you can use, demonstrate, don't explicate. But the fact that she's asking you that in the first place, that's the problem. She doesn't know the boundaries. If she did, she wouldn't be asking you in the first place. If she had genuine, hot, burning, I'm going to own her soul desire, that conversation doesn't happen. So that's what you need to be thinking about and focusing on, not so much like, how can I really tell this bitch, how can I punish her? It's not about punishment. It's about doing what's best for you. Frame equals whose reality you enter into, who controls the flow of the information, the power in a given interaction genre. Yep, reality distortion field, exactly. Now, when I talk about reality distortion field, that's like the sort of like pathological sociopathic personality. And remember, I'm going to do a full episode on dark triad personalities. And because I'm seeing a lot of similarities and a lot of sort of, commonalities, let's say, between guys who are very successful with women and dark triad. And I think it's time we stop calling it dark triad, because the dark, and this is like sort of a preview, I guess. I don't want to give away the farm here, but I think the idea of the dark triad personality sort of traits, we tend to think of them as negative, like Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and narcissism. Okay. Well, by order of degree, everybody has some of those traits. Do they manifest? Do they define your personality and your identity? For some people, yes, but for the vast majority of people, probably no. And given certain social or environmental or maybe even survival situations, you might be able to tap in. It might be a good thing to be Machiavellian. It might be a damn good thing to be like a little bit psychopathic if you are a soldier and you're fighting for your life. It might be a good thing for you to be a little bit more narcissistic of yourself if you're constantly being taken advantage of. So does that make them dark? Ooh, they're dark personality traits. No, they're only dark because certainly in a feminine, gynocentric society that is defined by emotionalism, yeah, they sound pretty dark. Oh, well, this could be used against us. Women find these attractive, but we can't let manipulative men, dark triad men, use these against us because we're really hot for those guys. And that's statistically, empirically proven that women are hot for guys that have dark triad traits. And I love it. And I have it. I could play it for you. I was going to hold off on it, but I have the interview between Michaela Peterson and Rob Henderson. Now, anytime I put Michaela Peterson on this freaking screen right here, oh, you must secretly want to have sex with her, Rollo. Why? Leave Michaela alone. You know, that whole thing. I hate using her as an example, but like if Rob Henderson is in there, I am really tempted to do it. So I might actually use that video. Is reason for existence of males to increase reproductive fitness of animals? Sexual dimorphism is a part of all that. Top males only reproduce in crisis, nice spelling of crisis, so their genes can flood the next generation much faster versus if only one sex exists. Well, sexual reproduction has been around for a very long time. This isn't even like evolutionary psychology. This is like evolutionary biology, right? So what are we going to do? Like hermaphroditic budding? Am I going to clone myself? I think now that this is me spitballing here, but from what I remember, the reason why organisms became sexually reproducing rather than like hermaphroditic reproduction. There are like critters. There's like flatworms that do that. I think it's called hermaphroditic budding, and that it like buds off of it, sort of splits off. It's kind of like what bacteria do. But I think that the prevailing theory is that organisms became sexually reproducing. It's the number one way to reproduce on planet Earth. Is because it increased survivability per mutations and according to like environmental conditions. So it gave a higher incidence of survivability of those species rather than have them go extinct because they could, join DNA that might be advantageous or might be disadvantageous depending on what the conditions were. So that's my best. I'm not an evolutionary biologist, and I don't even pretend to play one on the internet. Can one be red pill logically and blue pill creatively? I should certainly hope so. You know what? If you want to make a lot of money, if you want to make a ton of money, definitely. That's a formula to success, my friend Sam. Absolutely. In fact, a lot of people do that. People will criticize me for saying, Rollo, you know all this red pill stuff. How dare you tell guys to be more emotional and to like speak women's language in order to like manipulate them into bed? I'm like, well, what are you going to do? Red pill them into bed? Like no guy's ever virtued a woman into bed, and no guy has ever reasoned a woman into bed. Honey, here's the reasons. Let's go over them here. All right. Number one. I'm a really great guy. Okay. And those guys, they're sons of bitches. I'm going to be worth X amount of money in the future. And as soon as I am done with school, no guy's ever done that. No one. See? No one's ever done anything like that. No one's ever said, I'm so virtuous. I'm so puritanical. And so I go to church every Sunday and I teach in the youth choir or whatever. No one's ever that doesn't get women wet. So can you be red pill logically and blue pill creatively? Yes, and I certainly hope you would. Like, imagine this. I'm in a band, right? I play guitar in Trial of Ascension. I have written, by the way, co-written, I should say, 2 or 3 songs thus far. We have 8 songs. We've got 2 4-song EPs. We're working on the 3rd right now. Perhaps you've heard of Phoenix. That was the title track of the last EP we did last summer. And that was I think that song was probably one of the best songs we ever did. Now, not to gloss myself a little bit here, but our singer, Livy, and myself did the lyrics to that. and I guess technically we co-wrote. I wrote about 50% of the lyrics to that, and she wrote the other 50. I've got another song that's coming up. We actually performed this song. Here's some Rollo trivia. We performed this song as our last song of the set at Alturas Bar about a week ago on Saturday, and it was called Dominic. And Dominic is a song that I wrote, but Livy put some lyrics into it as well. And it was about Operation Dominic. If you've ever heard of Operation, you probably haven't. Operation Dominic was a series of nuclear tests in the South to mid-Pacific off of what was known as the Johnston Atoll. And it was during the 1958 to 1962. And so they did these nuclear tests out there. And the reason I know about it is because the Navy officers who were on board the ships who were observing these tests were technically guinea pigs for radiation. And the reason I know that is because my father was about 21 years old, and he was serving aboard the USS Lansing, which is one of the ships, the destroyer escort that was out there observing those tests. And so I got curious about that because once my father passed away about 11 years ago, 10, 11 years ago, he qualified for veterans benefits as a result of being, a part of those guinea pig tests, right? And so I went and I looked and I found a lot of data on all this stuff. And I looked at the ship's logs of the Lansing, and it turns out that there were sightings of UFOs. Like right before, the night before those tests went off, there were sightings of UFOs. So I'm like, okay, we've got nuclear explosions, we've got the Navy, we've got the Pacific, and we've got aliens. That sounds like a heavy metal song to me. Now, do I necessarily believe in all that? No. Would it be red pill of me to go and say, well, it's all bullshit? No, because that's not a song that sells. But I wanted to give my dad his props, and I wanted to make it an interesting song. And so therefore you go and you write a song about that stuff. And I thought it was really good. I wrote probably about 80% of the riffs to that. And CJ came up with the rest. But am I being blue pill for not calling out bullshit? Maybe not. You could definitely be. Are you promoting blue pill stuff? I'm not writing Michael Bolton songs, put it that way. But do you need to tap into sort of like that blue pill appeal? Well, blue pill appeal, unfortunately, sells quite a bit. Depends on how committed you are to your craft and what it is that you want. What's your mission statement, right? I happen to think that we need to promote red pill material. Put it this way, I wouldn't write a book that didn't have some sort of red pill message to it. And I'm planning on doing a fiction book pretty soon, and just going to try my hand at it. But it's not going to be blue pill, that's for damn sure. So there'll be definitely some red pill principles that are part of that, because I think that if you push back against that narrative, you can actually make it profitable. But can you be red pill and then write a blue pill book? Absolutely you can. It's called profiteering and marketeering, my friend. You started to touch on this on the PVD podcast. Does cheating jeopardize genuine desire? Cheating ends genuine desire. Do you mean you're cheating, or do you mean her cheating? I had to go get my coffee down the street today. It depends on who we're talking about. If a woman cheats on you, then yes, because I'll tell you something that's I rarely get a chance to say this. So, and I'm glad we're doing Q&As today. When a woman cheats on you, when a woman decides that, remember what I was telling you about like the GNO, like a woman going on a girls' night out, GNO, right? She asks you for permission to go down to Las Vegas, and you're like, okay, go ahead. Your shit's going to be on the sidewalk when you come back. You don't say that, but just have it out there. Don't say anything. Just do it. Right? But I just told you a minute ago that it's not the actual asking of you or the situation of doing that. She's going to go do what she's going to go do. You can't, they always say, you can't control other people's behavior. You can only control your own or your reaction, right? You're not going to, if a woman wants to fuck some other guy, can I say that now? Yeah. If she wants to bang some other guy, she's going to do it whether you know it or not. She's going to, like, women are very, very good at managing multiple partners, very good at the logistics of that. Now, do all of them do that? Is a high incidence of that? Well, you can make an argument for that. But when it comes to facilitating that, especially in the social media age, it's much easier, and women have an easier time of it. I think men have a tougher time because they don't want one girl to find out about the other girl, because that's how they usually approach it. So in respect to does cheating jeopardize genuine desire? Cheating is the end of genuine desire if it is a woman who is doing the cheating. Okay, so you have to remember that at some point along the way, cheating with another guy seemed like a better idea than getting with you. It seemed like a better idea than staying with you. It seemed like a better idea than like being, and women will say, oh, it was just one time, I was drunk, he was cute, and one thing led to another, and they'll try to, don't be so judgmental, blah, 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 double standard this, yada, 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 yada. Okay, whatever, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the excuse is. It doesn't matter what the rationalizations are. It doesn't make any difference. What matters is she desired to bang him and not you. That's it, end of story. That kills genuine desire right there, because her genuine desire was for him and not for you. Now, furthermore, here's the point I don't get to make very often is once that woman starts that infidelity, once that has already taken place, and maybe she's doing it repeated times, or she's thinking about it. Maybe she did it once and she's still sort of like, he becomes the alpha widow, right? Anytime, and Will Smith should know this. Will, if you're watching this, this advice is for you. Anytime that woman, Jada Pinkett Smith, anytime she cheats on you and she's been with that guy sets the new standard. Especially if that woman has been with you for a long time and then she bangs another dude, she's going to start pining for that other dude because she already knows you. You're familiar. You're comfortable. She has rapport with you. Your familiarity to her, right? And so this guy's mysterious. He's new. It's novel. It's fun. He's hotter than you. He does different things in bed. He brings out a side in me that I never knew existed. Right? Yeah, of course, because she's bored with you. She doesn't want to bang you anymore. She wants to live with you. She wants you to go still read, homework to the kids. She wants all that to happen, but she does not want to have sex. She doesn't have genuine, burning, own your soul desire for there's your thumbnail. Rollotomassi's got a stroke. No, but she doesn't have a genuine burning desire for you at that point, because she's clearly demonstrating no explicate, right? She's not explicating it to you. She's demonstrating it to you with her infidelity. Remember what I said, the medium is the message. What's the message of her medium? Well, her medium is cheating on you. So what's the message, guy? It's over. You're done. Forget about it. She doesn't have desire for you. It's not about building trust. It's not about like, I hate it when I hear marriage counselors talk about, oh, you cheated on her, or she cheated on you. Now we have to rebuild. We have to get back in the trust nest. We have to, talk about our feelings, and we have to rebuild the trust. No, you don't. Because it's not about trust. You want to fuck this guy. It's about desire. Stop talking about trust. Stop trying to not be judgmental. Of course, it's mostly like female marriage counselors. Stop it. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It's over. Just like get your fat ass back in the gym and find someone better than that. That's really the end state of that. But back to my point. Point is this. Is that once that woman has had sex with that guy, and God forbid she's got a regular thing going with that guy, now he becomes her main, and you become the guy she's cheating with when she has to come home to you. So you'll probably hear most guys say this. If you've gone through that before, if you're a guy and you've gone through infidelity, or maybe you're getting divorced as a result of that infidelity, you'll probably are familiar with women's behavior. Very few women will admit to this, but the behavior, like I said, medium is the message. The behavior sort of belies the intent. And what will happen is once she gets into that situation where she's banging another guy on the regular, and you're suspicious of it, but you can't really tell, and you don't want to be judgmental, and you don't want to ruin the trust nest, or whatever the fuck we're calling it. What's happened is the guy that she is cheating on you with becomes the guy that she feels bad about when you actually, as her husband or her boyfriend or whatever, are having sex with her. So he's the one, the guy who's on the side, he's the one that she really wants to get with. That's where her desire is. And so having sex with her husband feels like cheating on the guy that she has on the side, the guy that she's actually cheating with. So you got a married woman, you got you're the married husband or the boyfriend. It doesn't have to be married. But whenever you try to initiate, she's like, yeah, okay. Suddenly she goes cold, or suddenly she's not like the person that you thought she was. And she begrudgingly has sex with you. Whereas before, maybe it was something different, right? And you think, well, maybe she's going through a time. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. No, she's thinking that if she has sex with you, it's cheating on the guy that she really wants to be with, which is the guy who's outside of the marriage. So you become the one that she is having infidelitous, if that's a word, sex with, because it feels like cheating on the guy who she's actually cheating with. That is a tough red pill to swallow for guys. Because now you're the husband, you're not getting it at all. Probably suddenly goes from having occasional sex to being completely sexless. But she's like happy as a clam when she comes home from work or wherever she's coming back from, right? And then when you try to initiate, or when you try to, you don't get it. I think one of the things that really pisses off women who are having affairs and their husbands are like oblivious to it, all that does is confirm their reason for fucking the other guy in the first place. Like, oh, he's too stupid to figure out. He's the kind of guy who couldn't figure out that I'm cheating on him. Why am I with this guy? And then when that guy tries to initiate sex and she's like, oh, no, it's not, I got a headache. It's not that time of the month, blah, 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 whatever the reasoning is. The real reasoning is she doesn't want to have sex with that guy, with a husband, because it feels like cheating on the boyfriend. That's why. And guys, man, when I explain that to guys, especially live in real time, that you want to know why guys hate me so, like why men have a bigger problem with me than women do mostly, is because of that. Because that you put something as raw as that out there and you go, dude, not only are you blue pill, not only are you kind of like a simp, but you're an oblivious simp. You're an oblivious, I say simp, you're an oblivious chump. And it only feeds into her estimate of you as a guy. And she's like, it only like confirms for her, like the reason why she went outside the marriage in the first place is because something along the way said, is he the best I can do? And the answer was no. But the guy that her personal trainer, whoever she was with, met outside of the marriage that she's having an affair with, that guy answers yes. And so every time you're like, okay, honey, I guess I'll go pick up the kids from soccer practice. I'll be a house husband. And she's like banging like I said, the personal trainer on the side. The fact that you're not even suspicious, or you don't even care to know, or you're just like trying to be not judgmental and whatever else. The fact that all that does is confirm for her that you are definitely not the best she could do. And she wants to get with that guy that much more. And so having sex with you is infidelity to him. That's why. Real tough lesson to learn. Can on be red pill logically and blue pill creatively? I already told you that. Can one? That was probably what you were saying. Red pill analysis of circumcision. You mentioned it briefly in passing in the mandatory vasectomy live stream. That was a long time ago. Bravo for remembering that one, sir. Such a confusing and contentious topic. I don't know. It's hard to say. I think circumcision as a religious practice has been around for quite some time. Honestly, you really want my honest opinion about that? Circumcision was brought up or was popularized by MRAs way back in the day. Because whenever feminists would bring up female genital mutilation, that was like, that's nothing. We've been, technically, if that's the criteria for genital mutilation, we've been mutilating boys since the Old Testament times, right? And so that's what they used as sort of their trump card in all of this, like that. And it was like sort of this ploy. I think as far as like the physical aspects of it, I mean, is it your religion? Okay. I mean, I'm cut, so there's too much TMI, right? But it's like, I have great sex and I still enjoy it quite a bit. Thank you very much. Is it a physical thing? I don't know, because I wouldn't know. But I think, honestly, the reason why circumcision became a big deal was because MRAs popularized it, because they wanted some sort of counter to female genital mutilation when they were confronted with it from feminists. And that's not to belittle anything. I'm just saying that's why we even are still talking about it right now. Here's an apple. Thank you. Thank you for my $2 apple. Very much so. Hey, Rollo, can women be happy long-term without a relationship somewhere along the way? No. I'll explain to you why. Because your idea of happiness is completely incorrect. Isn't it in their nature to want a husband and a partner? Yes, absolutely. It's funny you should say that, because when you watch my exchange between myself and Sarah, who is the producer for Rich Dad Podcast, when they finally publish that podcast, you'll get your answer, because we talked about exactly that. But let's get back to the happiness part right here. Can women be happy in the long term? No, and neither can you, because human beings aren't built to be happy. I know that's a tough one, right? What do you mean? No, I'm happy. Happy as I'm a pretty happy guy overall. But happiness is an emotive state, an emotional state, just like sadness is, just like a lot of other emotions are. And our emotions, when we have emotional responses, or we have emotions that we feel strong enough that motivate us to action, that is the function of that emotion. So nature, evolution doesn't give two shits whether you're happy or not. It doesn't care if you're sad. It doesn't care if you're depressed. If it increases your survivability and your the probability of you passing on your genes, or dominating a rival or whatever, that's all that matters. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, because I have heard even very well-meaning, very well intelligent guys with a DR in front of their name talk about happiness this and happiness that, and it's like, no, that's not what happiness is. Happiness isn't a static state. It's an impetus. It's to, like, happiness keeps you doing something that's good. You enjoy doing something. I'm happy when I'm playing guitar. Then I stop playing guitar. I'm not happy anymore. Right? What is happiness, right? Happiness is just something that motivates you to do something that is either pro-social, helps out with your reproductive process, helps out with your survivability, whatever that is that makes you happy. The other thing is misery and sadness and depression and all that other stuff. Those are same things. They just motivate you, let's get the fuck out of this state. You're gonna be a shit person until you get to the point where you're gonna be an angry person, or you're gonna be this person or that person, until you get out of that state. So it's transition. Emotions in a motivational perspective are there to push you from one state to another. So people don't find happiness when they get to the end of the rainbow. They find happiness on the way to the end of the rainbow, if that makes sense to you. So it's a transition, it's something that should be motivating you. So whenever I see stuff like this, can women be happy in the long term? No, they will never be. You'll never make, we're never gonna make this bitch happy. Yeah, you're not. Don't try. First of all, it's on them. Second of all, you have to understand what happiness is, or what the emotional state of it, or love for that matter, or depression, or name the emotion. Name the emotion that motivates you to go transition from one condition to another condition, and I'll show you love, I'll show you hate, I'll show you revenge, I'll show you jealousy, I'll show you happiness, I'll show you sexual desire. Name the state that you want to get to, and I'll name the emotion that gets you there, guaranteed. But we have to, and this by the way, I'm not coming down on you, Kebby, here, because a lot of people remember how I keep saying we've been raised in a gynocentric social order. Well, part of that raising men up to be like defective girls is this belief in this state of contentedness. Oh, there's going to be this wonderful rapturous happiness state once I get my degree, once I find the right guy, once I have babies, once I get my dream girl, right? Once I do all these things, and then I'll finally be happy. No, you won't. You won't ever. I hate this. This is going to sound, that's the good news, by the way. You won't ever be happy. You won't ever be content. And that's good, because if you were, human beings aren't meant to be in a state of constant pleasure and constant happiness any more than they are meant to be in a state of depression or anxiety or anger. You're not, because you can't dwell in those states, but they're meant to push you from one condition to another condition. That's what those are for. So God forbid, can we please stop it with this? I'm unhappy. I'm going to leave you for, my personal trainer, right? No, you just want to move from one state to another. I'm not the best you can do as your husband, and you want to go fuck Guido, right? Okay, have fun, because if that's going to make you happy, getting to that point might make you happy, and then once you're with him, you'll be unhappy again because you're not meant to be happy. We're not supposed to be. We can't be in this constant state of pleasure. And that's the really kind of the dangerous thing, I think, when I talk about like sedation and how like, what is it, prescription opioids, right? Or pornography, or because you're happy when you're jerking off, right? You get off and you're like, oh God, I'm right back where I was before, right? It's not so much the act of it, it's the act. Now what I got to do? Oh, better get to work and my shitty job, my shitty life, because my escape makes me happy, but going through all this bullshit that I have to do to get to that state of happiness, they don't realize it's not happiness, it's the process of doing whatever it is that makes them happy. So you have to look at things in nuts and bolts right here. It's not a permanent state. Yeah, excuse me. And you will do yourself no favors until you accept that very simple truth. Uncle Rollo. So we all know what the red pill rage is. Excuse me. Those tacos were great last night. Is for men. But what's the name for rage for women when they find out that having a high body count, being fat, masculine, 30 plus, and a 304 hurts them? I don't know. Come up. You throw it at me. I just work here, man. Karen rage? I don't know. Red pill rage. I guess could you say it's the same? Maybe it's red pill rage for women because they rage at what you're saying. That's funny you should say that, because I got like one of the things you'll always hear like Robert Kiyosaki say, like when I'm hanging out with him, is like I tend to piss off like the women that are on his staff. He always says that until like I talk to them and I explain it to them. If all you see is a 30-second Rollo clip, yeah, I'm sure that would piss you off because it goes against your ego investments. Like women want to, what did you just say here? So high body count, being fat, masculine, 30 plus, and a 304. Okay, well, being a hoe. Well, when you spell it out for them and you show them in no uncertain terms and statistics and numbers and everything else, first of all, you're appealing to reason, and women hate that. You're also clashing with their emotional investments in who they are. And that's a real bucket of cold truth poured over their heads. And so you're always going to get that. It's rage, but it's, you know what I call that? Here's a definition for you. I got it. It's the point of diminishing returns. That's pretty much what it is, right? That is, do I have that up here? Do I still have that? Oh, that's this. Here you go. See that yellow area? That we should just call it the point of PDR, point of diminishing returns. There's your reference right there. There's your birthday reference. Some dating coaches claim that discussing approach anxiety from an Evo psych perspective is misguided because it acts as tacit reinforcement for that concept. My anxiety has a purpose. It can stay. Okay, well, no, it doesn't. And I'll explain to you why, because you still have to understand the dynamic. So here's the thing. You know what this is? The people who tell you that, the dating coaches that tell you that, here's what you say. Would you rather be happy or would you rather be right? And we all already know that happiness is a transitory state in the first place. So my answer to that is I want to be right. I want to know why I am and why guys are. I just had that question a second ago, right? Why do so many guys feel approach anxiety, right? It's like, why do women tend to underreport their sexual partners and men tend to overreport their sexual partners? Well, because it's better to err on the side of having fewer or at least reporting fewer sexual partners for women, and it is on men's best interest to say, yes, I'm sexually experienced because I'm a high value guy because other women in the past have wanted to bang me and other men want to be me. Social proof, pre-selection. That's why they do that. Okay, does that mean I'm never going to talk about that anymore because, it's ruined my head space. I can't talk about, body count, my own body count, this, that, whatever. No, you understand that and you learn how to leverage that. That's this whole thing right here. So I shouldn't tell you the truth. I shouldn't explain to you that this is the reason why, the evolutionary reason for approach anxiety exists, because it doesn't mean that you can't condition yourself past it. You can rewire your software to override your firmware. We do it all the time. That's why we have the 463rd placed male swimmer is now the first place female swimmer. All I got to do is change the definition, right? You can do that psychologically. The other thing is that if you want to say like, okay, well, can people override their innate biology and their innate mental firmware? Absolutely. People die on hunger strike all the time. They do. Well, not all the time. Maybe not as much as they used to. Maybe they should a little bit more. But like, for instance, like if Gandhi like decides he's going to go on a hunger strike to the point where I'm not going to eat. I'm going to override my evolutionary firmware that says you're hungry, you better go eat. Right? I'm going to override my biology, which is if I don't eat, I'm going to die. So it's the software overriding the hardware and the firmware. Okay, that's one. The other thing is that if you've ever taken any kind of martial arts, right? What do they teach you in martial arts? You want to avoid conflict. Like human beings innately kind of are conflict averse, unless you're like a really dominant, very strong guy who just like wants to get his way and beat the shit out of other people. Okay, there is that guy. But by and large, most human beings are conflict avoidant. Let's just say, fight or flight. Usually, we're going to take flight over fight because we don't want to get damaged. It's not that we're all pussies. It's just that's the most adaptively best practice, I guess, to get out of a situation where we might die. The cowardice, by any other name, is a survival mechanism that keeps people alive. Right? Can you train yourself to take a punch to the chin? Can you train yourself to learn how to defend yourself with a martial art, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Kali, or Aikido, whatever it is, whatever. Can you do that? Yeah, we do that all the time. Bruce Lee made a living off of this, and he kicks ass. Of course, he got shot. But you can do that. We do that all the time. We teach ourselves to override our innate, by learning, by the way, by reason. That's why you should apply reason before emotion or instinct is something else. But we can override instinct and we can override emotion with reason and learning. It just takes longer. You have to train to do it. You don't just automatically know how to block a punch, right? With a nunchuck. You can block a bullet with a nunchuck. Deflect a bullet with a nunchuck. What movie? But yeah, I mean, you can do that all the time. So that's why my answer to these guys is bullshit. It's important to know, it's like wax on, wax off, right? Like remember the Karate Kid when Mr. Miyagi's like having him do wax on, wax off, and he has to do it in this perfect way. And Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid, he's like, aren't you just getting free labor out of me? Blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, okay, punch, wax on, and he wax off, like that. So he's doing this kind of thing. So he gets him in that muscle memory kind of thing. He doesn't understand what's going on. He just knows that that's the practice, and that's what gets the conditioning going, right? Well, you can rely on that, but at some point you got to go, oh, okay, now I understand the latent function of wax on, wax off. Okay. So, I mean, in that way, I guess it's all right, but I think you need to know the purpose and the function of it at some point. It's not going to discourage people. Would be brilliant to see Mystery on your show to promote the new book and a discussion on Mystery Method and the science behind your book. Thank you. Well, there's a lot of science in the book itself, by the way. And yes, I do cite sources, for crying out loud. Bad Dog Brad. With regards to game and frame, do you think that frame control is a strong approach to game because of the zeitgeist of emotionalism? Absolutely. In fact, I would say that would be my number one game advice, is to have that frame and understand what frame is. And here's the other thing. Most guys do is like they'll chase excellence, my friend, and then the women will just show up, right? Well, first of all, if you don't have the social skills and you don't have the game to really capitalize on that, because all you've been doing is focusing on your muscles and your money, and you don't have the social skills, you're just this inept, incongruent guy. Oh, I'm a good-looking guy, but so yeah. But I would also say that once you understand frame and you understand that woman is in your frame, how do you capitalize on that? That's where a lot of guys drop the ball, by the way. Well, I'm just me, so she's just going to want me, right? It's like 70s Leisure Suit Larry game. You have to remember, like most guys don't realize when a woman is in their frame or when a woman is doing what's called a frame grab, because they think they should go along with it unless they have a zero tolerance policy. Thank you for this. My goodness. Black Sheep, very much. Happy birthday, Rollo. Thank you for everything. I've been hitting the gym and I squat 350. Probably. Golf clap. Now, my legs and glutes are massive. Squatting is like, that's my, people go, you know, we'll come back to this. Some plates like to either grab, or some plates, your women, I guess, like to grab or slap my ass. At first, I used to tell them don't do that, but now I accept it and laughed off as a compliment. What are your thoughts? They're entering into your frame if they're grabbing your ass. It goes sort of dovetails into the other guy. This guy's question here just a minute ago. By the way, the squat rack. I have to call this out. Okay. So like right now, like I'm 54 years old, right? I'm in probably better shape than 90% of the guys that I saw down on the street yesterday, who are college age guys. Okay. Overweight, don't care about their style, don't care about whatever. They're just down there having a good time and drinking. Nothing wrong. Let them, I'm not going to be judgmental, right? But I will be judgmental about the guys who, when they see me, I'm fresh and fit, and if I'm wearing a tank top or I'm wearing whatever, like it's hot down there, okay? But if I'm out there and I'm in a tank top or I'm in a cutoff shirt or whatever else, and people go, whoa, swallow Tomassi. It's very flattering. Thank you very much for that, okay? But the next comment is, I guess the TRT is working. I'm like, dude, I am not on TRT. I have never been on TRT. My TRT, Black Sheep, is the squat rack. It's actually, there are things you can do, exercise, and you stay on top of your game. Does that mean you won't need TRT? I don't know. I don't need it yet. I don't think I do. I still wake up with morning wood. more too much information, right? I still enjoy having sex with my wife. Maybe I'm not 14 or 18 anymore, but I still am ready to rock and roll. So there's that. But no, I am not on TRT. I've never been on TRT. I actually go and work out. I work out. I don't have my sound drops today. I apologize. I need to get a virtual board. YOLO, hi. Hi. Would you please explain the mechanics behind of classic and operant conditioning in intersexual dynamics and blue pill conditioning? Oh boy. How long do you got? I'll see if I can give you the nuts and bolts of it really quickly, though. One of the reasons I focused on behavioral psychology and not like psychotherapy or any cognitive bullshit or humanism, right? Humanist psychology, I guess is what they were calling it. What is it? Human cognition, cognitive psychology. Abraham Maslow. I was always more nuts and bolts when it came to psychology because my bullshit detector was not tolerant. I had a zero tolerance policy with my bullshit detector when I was in college. So I focused primarily on behavioral. I probably would have gotten more into evolutionary psychology had it been offered at UNR at the time that I was there. So that said, as far as behavioral psychology is concerned, one of the earliest observations that I made as studying behavioral psychology is that women tend to use what's known as operant conditioning on men, meaning it's like Pavlovian, right? You do these things and you get the response, right? You ring the bell and the dog salivates. So think about how women can do that. And it's not like women don't know that they're doing it. It's not like this malicious, intentful thing for most women. For some it is. But it's if I do this, if I wear this, if I speak this way, if I do these things, it provokes these behaviors in men. That is technically operant conditioning, although you could make a case that it is like it's naturally conditioned, like a part of your firmware conditioning. But when it is a prompt for desired behavior, that's when it becomes behavioral psychology. When it's like, well, I'm going to hold out on having sex with him, and that's a reward for men. And until he gives me desired behavior. What is that? Oh, he makes more money. He respects me. He listens to me. He loves me. He does this. He mows the lawn, whatever it is, right? The bad desired behavior. I'm not going to suck your dick until you do X, Y, and Z. Classic operant conditioning right there. And then there's also what I've mentioned in the past is called, I use this quite a bit, is extinction bursts, because men and women will do the same thing. And not just, I shouldn't say it's just like in interpersonal relationships, but like what an extinction burst is that when you give the mouse the pellet for pressing the lever, and it comes out every time, that's a regular interval of reward. And then you say, okay, well, every like third tap, the thing comes out, right? Well, the rat learns to tap it 3 times and then the thing comes out. Now the rat goes, and it doesn't come out. And then maybe a little bit later, he does it once and it comes out. That's like this like intermittent reward is what it's called. So like, now think about this, like, well, I give him intermittent sex because whenever he wants to do something like that, or if I don't get my way, or we don't go see my mom on Thanksgiving or whatever it is, and I put out for him. The pellet that drops out of the tube for you is sex. And so it's very easy for women to, it's a very basic concept that most women figure out. But what happens is once you hit the lever and the pellet doesn't come out, and it's never coming out ever again, that's when men will, but rats will circle around and they'll scratch on the side of the wall, or they'll hit the thing a billion times. They'll try to climb up the wall wherever the food is at or whatever. They'll do this novel behavior. That's what's known as an extinction burst, because what you're doing is you have to go through this process of the animal doing novel behavior, and in some cases like very desperate, very frantic behavior to get that same hit of pleasure, dopamine pleasure, to give them the pellet, right? Men and women will do the same thing. So when you break up with a woman, guys will go and do some radical, crazy ass shit, and women more or less will do the same thing. But it's easier for women to sort of reinitiate that than it is for men. So men tend to experience what's called an extinction burst way more frequently than women do. That's the best I can give you for 55 Norwegian cronkies or whatever that is. How do you differentiate between medium is the message and a shit test? Okay. You have to, well, first of all, shit tests tend to follow this. It's easy to see a shit test because women use the same ones over and over and over again. So it's repeated so much. So really what the medium is message is that the medium is, you have to understand what both of them are. So medium is a message is believe what she does, not what she says, or believe anybody for that matter. But in this case, we're talking about women. So if a woman cheats on you, that's the medium. Okay, what is that medium? What is the message of that medium? She doesn't have any genuine desire for you anymore. That's it. If a woman flakes on you for 2 or 3 dates, she's not saying anything, but her behavior is telling you the message. Okay, she flakes on dates and she never calls you, or she's sort of indifferent to you. That her behavior is the medium. What is it telling you? What's the language of that medium? What's the implicit message in that medium? It's like she's got something else going, or you're not her highest priority. So act accordingly, whatever that is, right? Which is usually say, eject, fuck you, see you later, have a nice life. So that's the medium is the message. So the medium is whatever it is that she's doing. And then you got to kind of like weigh that against what she's saying, right? It was, oh, you're a hypocrite. Well, usually a hypocrite is the medium doesn't match the message. That's really what it comes down to. Say one thing and do another thing. Got it. Okay, so what is a shit test? Shit tests are fitness tests, really. There's 2 kinds. So the medium in this case is still, shit tests still apply. Like medium as a message still applies to shit tests. But you got to remember what's the message of the shit test. So she might like rib you, or she might say, oh, I bet how many girlfriends do you have, right? Oh, how many women have you banged? You look like a player, blah, blah, blah. Like that, that's a shit test. That's an active shit test. There's 2 kinds of shit tests, by the way. There's active and there's passive. The active one is when you meet a girl down at the clubs out here, right? Or you're on the street and she starts messing with you. And really those kinds of shit tests are when you're single and you're just meeting a girl for the first time. If she gives you a grief, that's actually shit tests at that point are good news, because she has interest enough in you to give you one in the first place, rather than blowing you off and going, get away from me, you creep, right? That's not a shit test. That's get away from me, you creep. So Usually it's kind of like when an active shit test, a woman is trying to see if you know how to play the game, if you know how to play with her. Remember I said, and this is, you'll see this, this is all over the book in the fifth book, is play with her and play with her. And I go into great detail about that. But the play with her part is the shit test, right? Does he know how to play? Is he a player? Is he picking up what I'm laying down, right? Does he just get it? That's what that active shit test is meant to establish. We're playing a game, and I don't want to be told I'm playing a game, but I want to know that he is socially savvy enough to get the covert language and the cues that I'm throwing at him, because only a guy who gets pussy would know what to do, would know how to respond to those things, would know how to be cocky and funny, agree and amplify, command presence, whatever. Those are techniques, but only a guy who gets pussy would know how to react to that shit test, and that's really where that's coming from. It's not about direct game. It's not about like, hey, bitch, you DTF. That's not what it's about. It's about, is he responsive? The passive shit test is when you are usually when you're in a relationship or you got married, and here's a passive shit test. When are you going to mow the lawn? It looks like the grass is very tall right now, right? That's a passive shit test. My mom was right about you. I should never have married you. I should have married John. He would have been a much better. That's a shit test. Okay. The passive shit test answers one question. Is he the best I can do? Anything, I'm going to do this. I promise you, I can't do it here because I want to do this in the studio, but I'm going to do a dedicated show to passive aggressive responses. Passive aggressiveness is a passive shit test. That language of passive aggressiveness is a passive shit test. So in both of those examples, the medium is she's ribbing you. Maybe she's like, kind of playing like bratty sister with you. And maybe it's not even like sometimes the medium can be saying something that is like a shit test, like trying to mess with you, right? That's the behavior, really. Does she really care about like, oh, I bet you say that to all the girls. She doesn't care about that. She just wants to know whether you can play or not. Right? Are you a player or are you not a player? So what's the medium telling you? Flakes for dates, right? Well, the medium is that she doesn't have any interest in you, really. Or maybe she flakes on you, and then when she's hungry, she says, hey, well, how about that date? Let's go down to Red Lobster. Maybe that's the medium is the message, right? And then she's a foodie call, right? If you turn into a foodie call, the medium's the message. You're there to like supply her with lobster. That's pretty much it, right? So a shit test can also, here's the difference. Like a shit test and medium is the message. Like shit tests are medium is the message. So from within the shit tests, they're using the medium. That's the easiest way I can say it. You guys, see, I have not done a Q&A for a very long time, and you can probably tell. So do you ever inform her of her boundaries? No, you probably shouldn't. Probably shouldn't. Let women discover boundaries. Don't tell them about the boundaries. Make your silence more deafening than anything you could say. Rollo, have you ever considered speaking to RP Mentor Tokyo? I don't know who that guy is. He made an interesting hypothesis of Girls Night Out. I'll look him up. What's he? RP Mentor Tokyo. No, I'll look him up if you think he's worthwhile. Does John know him? Entanglement, a fragrance by Chanel. Yep. What's your advice for college guys? I understand as a freshman, I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. Not necessarily. What can I do to develop a liberal institution? Liberal institution. What can I do in a liberal institution? Remember what that guy just asked me a minute ago? Can you be red pill and be blue pill creatively? Take that to heart, right? Like work within your environment. I've said this in remember when I was telling you guys about sneaky fucker, like male feminist, like game, like, blend in and try to identify with the feminine. And then hopefully that by doing so, that women will want to be with you, will want to have sex with you because you are more like them. You identify with the feminine more, and therefore you're not like other guys. You're trying to make yourself unique by being less unique, right? But really, the principle behind that, behind sneaky fucker game, is aligning yourself or identifying or understanding the dynamic that you're in. Like guys who are male feminists, maybe on some level of consciousness, they realize that, or they think anyways, that the best practice would be to blend in with the women, agree with them, be good listeners, be sensitive, right? Get in touch with your emotions, align with the feminine, identify with the feminine. I'm not telling you to do that, but the principle or the mechanics behind that are similar to where you're at right now. So if you are at let's say you're at UC Davis, you're certainly not here's what you do. Transfer to ASU. Clearly it is a red pill party school extraordinaire. If that's off the table though. If so you're going to UC Davis or you're going to Berkeley or whatever, like be a wolf in sheep's clothing. Understand what's going on, be able to read situations. And then as game and time permits and effort is worthwhile or worth applying, remember that like women who are like quote unquote liberals and there's, vegan granola crunching, feminists still want to have their insides turned out, right? They still want to have their rearranged, right? They still want to have sex with an alpha guy, whether they admit it, whether they talk about it, whether they, oh, I hate those guys like that, right? Until they don't, until they meet you, you're like, oh, I thought you were different. You're such a great guy. Well, when you can be in those situations, I'm not going to tell you don't marry any of these girls, but if they're for recreational use, if it's for sport fucking, then, you're spinning plates, then that's one thing. If it's, oh, I want to have a girlfriend or whatever, wait, don't get it there, but you can get experience there. And so watch out for yourself. I'm going to tell you, like the MGTOW black pill doomer advice is don't touch them, just stay alone. Don't do anything. I'm not going to ever tell you to do that because you need experience and you need to get out there. You need to learn social skills. You need to, and that comes from spinning plates. I'm not telling you to fuck every single one of them. I'm just saying that dating non-exclusively can be done in institutions of higher learning, where you're dealing with vegans and granola crunchers and feminists and everything else. Do you want to get with them? No, but can you turn them out? I can turn you. By the way, I said that to Ariella. She probably didn't remember this, but when I was on You Are Here, and I was there with Ariella, and we were having like afterwards. I'm looking at her. I said lesbian. She's like, yeah. I can turn you. Let's see, what else do we have here? This is the birthday AMA. Thank you for participating. Hey, Rollo, do you still have time for guitar practice outside of rehearsals? All the time. If yes, do you have a practice routine? Of course I do. My practice, you want to know what my practice? Thank you for asking me something that's not red pill. I am a guitar aficionado right now. Probably more so than I've ever been before. I tend to go from hobby to hobby. Like I have a lot of things that I'm really interested in. I still play war games. I still like Warhammer 40,000. I still paint miniatures. I still geek out with a masculine geek every other weekend or every other Wednesday. And we play Dungeons and Dragons online. So this is like some geeky, stupid shit that I do, but it's mental popcorn. Yeah, and I need it after having to answer all this stuff and be on my game all the time. I like to have something to sort of say, okay, I'm going to put this over here. One of the great things I think, you want some advice, but in case you're looking for advice, I like to have my rehearsal and I like to play in the band, not because it's a great big money maker. Although if I probably put some more effort into it, I probably could like brand us and market us maybe a little bit better. Maybe I'll do that after the book is out. I think maybe that'll end up being my project. Certainly for the summer is promoting Trial of Ascension way more than I have. But again, that's me being me again. And so when I practice, when I play, when I create, I have to set aside time to do that. I don't think people really realize the kind of, I don't know, regimen I have. Is that a word to use for this? I have to I literally have to close my door in my studio. If I'm writing, I hate it too, because I have to lock Ned out. right? I have to lock my wife out. I have to lock everybody out and block everyone away and say, okay, for the next 3 or 4 hours, I'm in here. Don't bug me. If it's an emergency, text me and I'll come downstairs. That's basically what it comes down to. And I've gotten into the habit of getting up at like 4 a.m. I actually got into the habit of getting up that early, not because Jocko Willenick said to do so, but because Pat Campbell said to do so all those years ago. And so I got in the habit of it, and I realized I'm much more productive first thing in the morning, particularly when everybody's still asleep and there ain't shit going on in the house. Imagine that. I tend to be more productive. So I have a schedule for like when I practice, and usually I'm practicing the songs that we're going to do for the next gig. I try to stay on top of everything. I mean, I've been in this band for 2.5 years now. If I'm creating, that's a different schedule. If I'm practicing, that's another schedule. If I'm going out to the rehearsal studio, that's always Saturdays right after Rule 0. So yeah, I mean, I have a regimen. What does it sound like? I don't know. Sometimes I'll play either. I've got 2 areas, well, 3 areas technically that I practice in. If it's warm, I'll go plug into my Bugera, which is in the garage. And I have a little side. I've got a pretty big garage. I got like a 3-car garage with a little compartment thing in the garage where I keep all my music stuff. So if I want to get a live sound, and Lord knows my neighbors know when I do, I'll go in there and I'll plug the Bugera in, and then I'll start working on live sounds. And then I'll practice there. And then I have a Positive Grid Spark, which I have in my living room, so that when I'm watching TV or I'm just kind of like noodling around, I can plug in if I want. And then I got my computer, and that's where I record, and that's where I really do most of my practicing, because that's where I can focus on things with like a Guitar Pro 7.5. Is that what it's like? Whenever CJ wants to give me something to practice on, it's usually a Guitar Pro. Given only 40% of men reproduce historically. Actually, it's less than that. And weak men is an increasing crisis. Is that an argument that nurture is more influential than nature? No, it's not. The nature versus nurture debate is over. It is all nature. And the further we get into evolutionary biology and evolutionary psychology, I think the more pertinent and significant that discovery is. On the last show, do I have it still in here? I think I might have pulled it out. I gave you the 4 laws of behavioral genetics, and I used that to sort of bolster my argument when I was when I was talking about, it was on the Bill Maher show, when I was talking about the difference between like social constructionism, and I was debunking that the lady with the tattoo, I forget her name. She has a doctorate somewhere. She's a college teacher, professor. I actually looked her up. I forget her name now. But that, like, the idea of social constructionism is empirically disprovable, and we can disprove it because of the 4 laws of behavioral genetics, right? So, and then also this. Only 40% of men have reproduced historically. Actually, it's quite a bit less than that. Go do a little more of your homework there. Even as far back as 8,000 years, 1 man reproduced for every 17 women. So historically speaking, I mean, maybe it's come up since agriculture, but more or less, I would see it going actually back down, if anything, in today's like post-marriage world. So. So is that an argument for nurture more influential than nature? No, because nature is what is ultimately prompting the behavior in the first place. So I'm not saying nurture is not important. I'm not saying that there's no such thing as software. You're just these automatons and everything's predetermined. I'm not saying that whatsoever. Like you do have innate personality traits that are a result, certainly of biology, but also of like your lived experience. The guy cheating on the woman. Okay. Oh, that's what you're saying. I think I already talked about that. I think I gave you a pretty good outline on that. What did you say? Cortez. Oh, I like your Av, man. That's awesome. At least it's not a dick pic, right? You know who I'm talking about. Do you have any thoughts on cuckolding in the millennial generations? It seems like a trend to call your boyfriend in the act of saying. Let me give you some advice, Cortez. Stop watching interracial porn. Stop watching cuckold porn. That's not the real world. That's porn. Okay. Second of all, so cuckolding, whatever. Why is that such a big deal? Well, it gets guys off because what men have done in, like, why is cuckolding? And then I have any thoughts on it? So here's my thoughts. The reason why cuckold porn is like a hot thing, and I've talked to Sterling Cooper about this in the past, ex-male porn star. I know he's trying to get out of the business. He's done cuckold porn before. And he has said, I felt bad for the guy for the first 5 minutes, and then I was into it. Like, he was into banging the other. He's always the bull. He's never the one getting cuckold, trust me. But I think that the reason why we find cuckolding and even poly more arousing is because of something that I'm going to give him props now. Dr. Jeffrey Miller said, eroticizing that jealousy instinct in men. And this goes back, by the way, to operant conditioning. Like, remember we were talking about behavioral psychology just a minute ago? If you can condition a person, in this case a man, to get past their revulsion response, which is an innate behavioral response, you don't, like, it's part of your mental firmware. If you can condition a person to get past that, you can make them do any atrocity you want them to do. Right? If you can, that's essentially, that's what we teach like soldiers to do, is to push past the fear or the anxiety or the reservation of killing another person. If you can get past that, if you can like condition a soldier to be a killer, an innate killer, then you can pretty much make them do whatever you want them to do. Theoretically speaking, you can make them do whatever you want them to do. So if we can condition a society to accept that, the 463rd, placed male swimmer is actually the first place female swimmer, that's conditioning. It's operant conditioning is what it is, but it's at a larger scale. It's at a social scale. So we all go, oh, yay, the first transgender female swimmer, right? Meanwhile, all the other female swimmers, second, third, and fourth, and fifth, and sixth place, all of them are grinding their teeth going, this is bullshit. And they're right, it is bullshit. But you can condition people to believe that it's not, and push past that hesitation that suspend their disbelief in this case, right? So that's another reason why it works. But the other thing is, like, so let's look at cuckolding for a second. Well, what's the major obstacle to people like getting off on cuckold porn or get off on being like a bull or being a cuck or whatever it is? What is it? The major obstacle? It's not the woman, it's the man. The man has the jealousy response. And so Dr. Jeffrey Miller has said this. He says, oh, poly would be a great thing because we're all promiscuous naturally and we all should be doing this. And it's not for everybody. It's only for us elites who can, eroticize our jealousy response, right? Do you think that Jack Murphy would be Jack Murphy if he couldn't get past that jealousy response? I mean, look at the dude. I've met him before. He's like 6'3", man. I mean, the guy is, I understand why people wanted to believe that Jack Murphy was this, liminal order. He's a conservative bastion of truth, justice, and the American way. And then the videos come out, and then Heartfelt comes out, right? And we're in disbelief because he's built this reputation for being this man's man, and suddenly we go and we talk about important things after church over coffee. Wow. But the reason why you get that is because we have a jealousy response. The reason why we're revolted, we have a hesitation, a revulsion response to cuckoldry, or other man banging our girl, is because we want to know that the kid is ours. We have an innate, that's why the revulsion response is, comparative, or I should say is dovetails with jealousy. Because if we're not jealous, then the kid ain't ours. And if we don't care if the kid is ours, then our DNA doesn't go on and someone else's does. And we invest our resources and the survival of that kid that ain't ours, we go and it's opportunity cost. We could be banging other women where the kid would be ours. Right? Instead, we're going to try to condition men to believe that being a a stepdad is noble superhero. You're not the dad. You're not the stepdad. You're the dad who stepped up, right? The reason why we're doing that is because we want to condition beta males to take care of the children of alpha males that women pick, that women fuck, that women reproduce with. And now it's your duty as a real man to take over the parental investment costs and liabilities of another man's child. Because if you do so, then you're more of a man. We'll convince you, right? You don't know what a man is? Well, I'll tell you what a real man is. It's a man who takes care of other men's children. That is completely 100% against the natural order of things. It's against evolution. That's why guys get jealous. That's why they're pushed, in some cases, they're pushed to acts of violence against the woman or against the guy who's banging her out, right? And that's generally what usually happens. Now, if you can go and you can say, well, you know what? Don't kill that guy. You should get off on seeing some other dude rearrange your wife's guts, right? You should really get into that. And if you can do that on a massive scale, particularly with free, online, ubiquitous 4K streaming pornography, all the better. It's much easier to do that. You want to know why cuckoldry is such a hot topic right now? It's because of that. You never heard about this prior to the internet age, prior to streaming video online. And maybe there was some people who got off on it, but it was certainly a niche. It was certainly a fetish. Now it's kind of like, oh, that you wouldn't even be asking me this question if you didn't know something about it. So I don't mean you're personally involved in. Sorry, I don't mean you're personally involved in it. I mean, like, the reason why we're even having this discussion is because people are aware of it. Thank you for $75. Boy, what a great, thank you for the birthday present. Okay, unrealized potential and other nonsense. Quite the name. All hail the Godfather. Wanted to ask you about your top recommendations for short guys on how to get attracted women. For reference, I'm 5'4", in shape, and do well socially. Yeah, probably by necessity. You probably learned that you had to. However, it rarely translates in terms of getting genuine desire. Yeah. Okay, so the number one suggestion that anyone, not just me, will give you is that if you are 5'4", look for a woman who's 5'3". Look for a woman who's 5 foot. The singer in my band, Livy, she's 5 foot tall. That's it. Yeah. And I'll tell you what also is funny is I'm not the tallest guy in the band either. I'm 5'11", and CJ is like at least 6'1". I think he might be 6'2". And Steve is definitely over 6 feet. He's the drummer as well. So it's like these big, huge dudes, and there's this one little girl that's in the middle of the thing. We're trying to find like some sort of stage like lifter or something so she can get up on top of it. But target women, like fish where the fish are, and in this case, your fish are going to be 5'3". I know that might, I would say go for that, right? Look at that. When I talk to women, like the number one, universal attraction cue for women, of course, is height, and that's across the world, across the board. Sorry, but that's the cards you were dealt, my friend. So I'll tell you what I tell, like he still is my best friend, Raymond. He's Filipino, born in the Philippines, naturalized citizen of the United States, has done very well for himself. I hope he's still currently married. Has done very well, by the way, with white women too here in the United States. And he is, I think he's about your size. I think he's about 5'4". Filipino men got it rough, but I love you guys to death. Like of all the, if there's anything like about ethnicities and stuff like that, I have always had such a great experience with like Filipino guys, because they have been just so gracious and so like family oriented. And I think it's the one consistency in my life has been like, I don't know why, but like hanging out with Filipino guys. And like, even when I was back in like my high school days, same thing. But just very, very good dudes. And they realize one commonality I know about my Filipino friends is that, the guys are short. There's nothing you can do about it. And you know what? Most of them are like, yeah, we're short. There's nothing we can do about it, except for make up for it in other ways. Like, how do you compensate for it? Oh, you're compensating because you got short man's disease. Yeah, you do. And there's nothing wrong with that. Well, you've got a big, giant monster truck because you got a little wee-wee. No, I have it, but it's not a compensation. It's because like I like these trucks, right? How do you know that my dick isn't 12 inches long or it's 6 inches long? Right? You don't know, but that's what people want to say is you're compensating. It's funny how like women become like these Freudian psychologists when it comes down to stuff like that. You got short man's disease. He's projecting. Yeah, and I'm doing very well at it too. And I think really what guys need to do, whether they're their height, whatever deficit that they're sort of like, there's not much you can do about height, right? But once you accept that and you go, okay, what else do I have going for me? How can I maximize my efforts? I understand the problem most short guys have is they give up because they think it's hopeless for them. Oh, I'm a chin cell. I'm this cell. I'm an incel this. I'm a whatever cell that, right? And by the way, that's the new hotness in the mainstream media, by the way, is incels, they're coming for you. They think you're dangerous. I love how they always go back to like Elliot Rodger from 2014. There was once this guy in one incident that was way back in 2014, but man, we got to be careful of those guys now here in 2022. There are far more dangerous people out there than incels. Trust me. Can they be radicalized? Sure, they can be radicalized. But anyways, I digress. As far as height mogging, right? You've got to find some way to make up for that deficit. That's what most guys do. That's why I call it compensating. I don't see any problem in acknowledging that men compensate for deficits in their lives. That's fine. We do it. Everyone does that. Funny you should mention that, because when I was on with Robert Kiyosaki, we talked about money, muscles, and game. And usually when a man is deficient in one of those areas, he tends to gross out in another area. So really money, like muscles would be like the physical aspect, like your height, your face, what can you do to look better, what your style is, the way you present yourself, your appearance, your body, of course, V-taper, strong chin. Damn it, I wish I would have got in with Jazzercise back in the day. But all men do it. Women do it too. They compensate as well. We just don't say anything about it because we don't want to be judgmental. Actually, women do it, but instead of saying they're compensating, we try to make excuses for them. I say, "Oh, you should just accept your body. Your fat acceptance. You're sexy at any size and at any age, Paulina." So we actually, I think we do a greater disservice to women who are compensating or who have like these anxieties and these insecurities over that need to compensate than we do for guys who we go, "Oh, you got a little dick because you got a monster truck," right? Well, I think we need to sort of, both men and women need to embrace the fact that we do compensate and there's nothing wrong with that. So we're going to play to our strengths. What are your strengths? Clearly it's not height. So you've got to say, okay, well, this is the game I have to play. And the game is I'm going to get with a woman who is 5'3". That would be maybe a good start. Either that, or you have to be such a badass in other aspects, whether that's muscle, whether it could be muscles, or it could be, you have a height deficiency. So you've got to make more money. And I've covered that before, like whatever the amount of height, like the extra inch that you have to get, you have to make another $75,000 a year or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. Funny thing is like when I talk to girls who are tall, and I've known a few of them, if a girl is like 6'3", they tend not to be as, I think, picky when it comes to finding a guy who is taller than they are. And I think that's a kind of an analogous situation to guys who are very short, right? So women have an innate attraction to men that are taller than they are, right? But if a woman is 6'2", she happens to be a tall, WNBA player, finding the guy who is 6'3" is exceedingly rare. But that's not going to stop her from wanting to get with a guy who's still looks good, but he's an inch shorter than she is at 6 foot tall, right? He's still a tall guy by average standards, but he's still shorter than she is. And I think that women kind of go, well, okay, it's going to be really tough for me to find a guy who's 6'4", being 6'2". And So even a guy who's 6'1", who it would be taller than I am, right, is still shorter than a woman who's maybe still good, big old Amazon Viking woman, right, than she is. So remember, compensation. That's her condition. Well, they can't all be 6'3", and I still want to get laid, and I still want to have babies, and I still want to. So maybe she's going to have to sort of compromise on that. I'm not saying she still doesn't want to innately get with a guy who's 6'3" or 6'4", but she's going to have to sort of like weigh her options as far as like what she wants to do in the long term, or who she just wants to bang in general. Right? You're kind of in the same boat, but in the reverse situation. So now you're 6'4", you're 5'4". And you go, okay, well, I know that women don't really want to get with short guys, but I can be taller than a 5'3" woman. So therefore, maybe I'm looking for shorter women. And that's the starting point. There's other things you can do as well, but that's where I would suggest you start. I know, just get with short women, right? Well, I can't believe Rollo said that. Rollo, if I'm a high-value top % guy and I find a normal girl attractive, but she had a long-time average boyfriend, should I pursue or abort? If you are a top percentage guy, why are you not spinning plates? That's what I would ask first. If she's an average girl, but she has a long-time average boyfriend, why? I mean, maybe you want to. Maybe you want to add it as a plate. To me, that seems inefficient, and it seems like the reason you're asking is because you have an emotional investment in this girl. Also, the other thing is this: if you're a top average guy and if you're a high value top % guy, do not use the term pursue. Chasing women, I hate that fucking term. Absolutely hate that. I'm so sick. Chase excellence, don't chase pussy. It sounds like you're on the schoolyard running after girls and trying to grab their hair and kiss them or something at like 9 years old or some shit like that, okay? No guy chases pussy. No guy chases excellence for that matter either. You either do the work or you don't, right? You either understand women's nature or you don't. You either go out there and you engage with women socially or you don't. There's no chasing. Stop it with this goddamn chasing language. I hate that shit. Also, pursue. Okay, the reason why you're using a term like pursue is because you think that really pursue to me means invest. Should I put some effort into getting with this girl? And the answer is if she's an average girl and you're a top, and you are genuinely a top, high value top percentage guy, which maybe you are. I'm not saying you aren't. But why is that worthwhile? Why is investing in pursuing that woman? Why is that even why are you asking me this question, right? The answer is, yeah, maybe you turn her into a plate if you're still interested in it, if you think the experience is, something worthwhile. But stop using the term pursue, especially if you're a high value guy and you acknowledge that. Asher Thor was just walking around the Scottsdale quarter with my son. Hope Phoenix is treating you well. It is actually. I like being I don't consider moving to certain places, but I would consider moving here. I like it. This is, I dare say, are you gonna be at the CME? Good. I'm gonna be at the CME, and lots of other people are gonna be at the CME too. Yeah, I like Scottsdale, and I dare say it gives me the same vibe as like I've done like martini fests in Deerfield Beach. And this is in Florida, and then on Church Street in Orlando. This area here, it gives me those Church Street vibes. And if you've been to Orlando, you know what I'm talking about. But definitely a college town. I see a lot of beautiful women out here too. And I'll tell you what's funny is, like, you're in the middle of the desert. The nearest beach is like San Diego or something like that, like hundreds of miles, like 100 miles, 200 miles away from here, something like that. Women are walking around in bikinis and sarongs. And like, where the hell is the beach? Havasu is only up north from here. But they're very beautiful women. I would say, I'm not going to say Brickell caliber, but pretty close. I would say this area right here, if you put if you put a big college, well, I guess there is. I mean, Miami, but you put a big college nearby, and you kind of get the same vibe. Anyways, I know I thought it was pretty good. Actually, I'm almost regretting not opening this up as a liquor distribution area when I was working in liquor, because this would have been my groove. Do you think a relationship can work out for a 35-year-old childless man and dating a 42-year-old single mother with 2 teenage daughters? Any advice? Yes, don't do it. That's your advice. Just don't. Don't ask my permission. You already know the answer to that, okay? You're 35 years old. You're just about to hit your stride. You will, trust me, you will regret it. You will regret it. 42 years old, 2 kids already. You're taking care of you're basically, think of the opportunity. Look up this term, opportunity cost. That's what you're getting into. I hate to pull a Aaron Clary on you, but look up the term opportunity cost and apply that to intersexual dynamics. Apply that to the sexual marketplace. You're 35 years old. If you are so optionless at 35 years old and you haven't maximized your potential to that point, you've got bigger problems than asking me whether or not you can go marry or get with this girl who's 42 years old and has 2 children. Don't do it. Seriously. I feel, well, I can't believe you said that. Well, and she's 42, and literally in another 5 years, maybe 6 years, she's going to start entering menopause. And then you'll be like, what the hell was I thinking? I thought this was a good idea back when I asked Rollo. Don't do it. Do not do it. Eject, my friend. Eject. Vinny, how do you deal with anxiety of wanting to be better post red pill awakening? Better in what? Here's how you deal with that anxiety. You go out and do it. You go out and do something. You improve yourself. You get your fat ass in the gym. You go start working on your money situation. You look for angles. Maybe you need to educate yourself. Maybe you need to read. What else? What else, Vinny? Get out of bed. Get out of fucking bed. Go to you. Do you really just need a pep talk? Because that's what it sounds like to me. I want to be better post red pill awakening. Good. Well, that's the fire under your ass. Anxiety, my friend, is an emotion. It's an emotional state that is meant to get you to transfer from one condition to another. So what is anxiety telling you, Vinny? Get off your fucking ass. Go and do something. You know how you deal with anxiety? You actually make some progress towards alleviating that anxiety. Imagine that. The anxiety, the emotional state, the stress that you feel from all of that, from wanting to be better, guess what that is? That's motivation. That's incentive, my friend. Go with it. And you know what? And thank God you have it. Thank your lucky stars. Thank you, Lord, for my anxiety. Because if it wasn't for that anxiety, I wouldn't be the man I am today. Coffee and stress, my friend. In terms of game, is there any advice or techniques that are commonly taught that have changed from your days on SoSwap or are no longer applicable? Yes. Or does it all still apply? Okay, some basics do. I'm glad you're asking about this because I'll probably cover this when I release the book next week. The basics still apply. The fundamentals still apply. The machine is still the same. The evolutionary psychology that is the underpinning of game and the red pill still applies. The application has changed though. So one of the things about game and when we talk about game, I'm talking about social skills, but I'm also talking about the adaptive strategies that men use as contingencies for women's adaptive strategies and their mating strategies. So really that's what game boils down to from a scientific, sociological, psychological, evolutionary perspective is game is just an adaptation of mating strategy, right? Okay, women do this, I'll do this. Oh, women figured that out, now I'm gonna do this. Oh, things have changed, we're using Instagram, I'm gonna use Instagram. Oh, we're gonna use OkCupid now and write these really long ass profiles about ourselves. I'm gonna be the best I can there, and I'm gonna leverage what I know about women's nature and my own nature and the interaction between those, and I'm gonna write a kick-ass bio, or I'm gonna take pictures. I'm gonna use my imagery in this way now that it's easier to promote myself. It's brand management. Okay, I mentioned that, by the way, in the first part of the book. There's a whole chapter, by the way, dedicated to brand management and dating. And online dating is a major part of that. But the imagery and what you're doing as part of brand management is still reliant on understanding the evolutionary underpinnings of why, what's an adaptive mating strategy. So you can still apply it, but you apply it on Instagram rather than in the club, right? Or you apply it, on Tinder or seeking arrangements or whatever. Like, there's a different game for all of that kind of stuff. And I'll be the first one to tell you, like, seeking arrangements, by the way, that's a really great sourcing tool for a lot of guys. And not just guys who are just like desperate. Oh, you're just going to be a sugar daddy. Oh, you're this ugly fuck and you just got to pay for it. It's a sourcing. It's opportunity. At least the women on there are honest. You know what you're getting into. And if you know how to leverage that, you can do pretty well with that. You can do pretty well with Tinder. You can do pretty well with Hinge. And you know what? Don't come at me saying, oh, I can't believe Rollo's saying you go get these hookups and blah, blah, blah on Tinder. That's, you can evolve or go extinct, my dinosaur friend. As far as the techniques from the old days, 3,000 years ago, the principles, the underlying principles and the foundations are there, but the way we apply those are different contextually. So, for instance, back in the mystery method days, a number close meant something. A kiss close meant something. An F close certainly meant something. They are much less indicative of game success in 2022 than they were in 2002, because the conditions have changed. Getting a woman's phone number is meaningless in 2022. Getting her to follow you on Instagram is probably more likely to get you laid, to get you to, so you can complete your evolutionary mission, right? To optimize your mating strategy. You're going to do so on Instagram, probably more than anything else. Clearly, it's going to be on online dating, because that's how people meet these days. But that's not the only way. And as I said before, and you'll read about this in the book on game, is I tell you to play to the meta. And what the meta is I'll give you an example of the meta. Here's the meta. When you are on online dating, whatever it's Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, whatever, seeking arrangements, whatever, that's the meta. Is online dating is the meta. That the whole of online dating is the meta. What can you do to stand out in the meta? It's purple cow theory, right? There's a field of brown cows and you're the one purple cow and you stand out. How do you play to the meta that is all these brown cows and you're the purple cow online? And that's the context. That's the environment. Now, if you were here last night and you saw like the massive crowds that were out here and all the gorgeous women that were out here as well, how do you play to that meta? Because that's the meta. That street, Civic Center, somewhere around there, over here in Scottsdale, or in Brickell, or in Miami, or in Orlando, or Butte, Montana. What is the meta of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and what stands out? And that's knowing your environment and knowing your condition. Now, was that taught in mystery method? Absolutely, it was. Was it situationally aware, which is something I talk about in my book. So how do I play to the meta? Well, if you're good at online game, if you're good with your Instagram, if you're good with your Tinder, blah, 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 that doesn't help you play to the meta that was out here on this boulevard last night with a million screaming chicks out there. That's the meta. Now, you can still use your Instagram as a metric of success, I suppose. You're not going to number closing one of those girls is meaningless in the age of Instagram, because that woman wants to go, oh, I'll follow you on Instagram, right? The reason she's doing that is because later on, whether she's had sex with you or not, she's going to go and see, are you cool enough to hang out with? Are you somebody that she wants to get with? That's the meta. So play to the meta. The meta game is downtown Scottsdale. The meta is all of Hinge, right? The meta is whatever. Those conditions change, but the women and the machine and the human, evolved adaptive strategies for mating strategies doesn't change. So how can you be better? How can you play better to the meta is really what I get at in the book. Gagan Wrath. Gagan Wrath. I'm going to name my next D&D character that. Vince, I'm naming my next character Gagan Wrath. Gagan Wrath. Can the hymen actually be used as a test of virginity as is done in the law of Moses? Moses. Was it Moses? Was it not Abraham? I thought it was Abraham. When I try to research this, all I find is feminist articles downplaying the very concept of virginity. Of course you do, because feminists now want to promote the idea that virginity and the concept of virginity is a social convention, and it's a social construct that patriarchal men, you know why you're hearing about that? Because women want you to think that their sexual past shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter if she's a virgin, because that's a ancient puritanical Abrahamic religion social construct, and we hate men and they shouldn't tell us what to do and not be so judgmental. A woman can fuck whoever she wants to fuck, and then she should be just fine about it, and you shouldn't have anything to say about it, and if you do, you're an insecure, misogynist man. End of story. Thank you. Please super chat. No, I talked about this not too long ago, is the reason why I see those videos. I've seen those videos too. Right? The hymen, dude, here's the thing. Operate like this. From a practical stance, no woman's a virgin. Even though the ones who are telling you they're not either. Now, why is virginity important to men? Because we want to know that the baby's our fucking baby. That's why virgins have been prized over the years by every society on planet fucking Earth. Okay? So dynastic emperors of China valued virginity. The tribesmen in the Amazon rainforests, they prized virginity in women. The Yanomamo prized virginity in women. Name the culture, name the epoch, and you will see that virginity is most definitely not a social construct. It has a practical definition. An unspoiled virgin who has never had sex with anyone else before ever is valued by men who want to do what? Ensure that the baby's their baby. That's why. So whenever any woman says, oh, virginity is just some sort of social construct. No. Well, I mean, in a sense it is, but there's a latent purpose to that value, making it a social convention. Sure. Absolutely, there is. Men are going to value, historically, men have valued, let's say, less promiscuous women, like women who are a good bet for saying, the baby pops out and it's your baby. Because then my genes go on to the next generation. That's why men get jealous. It's almost like saying jealousy is a social construct. Men shouldn't be jealous. It's just because society has taught them to be jealous. Get them out of here. That's the same principle. Exactly the same principle. Or the same argument anyway. By that logic, jealousy should be something that no man ever feels. But we do. Virginity shouldn't be important to men. But it is. It's stupid. Absolutely stupid. And they're social condition. It's funny. It's like a social construct that's trying to convince you that another social construct isn't really a social construct. Happy birthday, Rollo. You're like a fine, fine wine. Yes, I am. A fine Chianti with fava beans. Thanks for the education. You are welcome, my friend. I'm happy to do it. Rollo, I started reading your work around 2005 at SoSwap. Long time listener, first time caller. You really helped me through some dark days. I'm much better, man, thanks to your teachings. Thanks for all you do. Thomas Barrand, aka Late. Oh, I know who you are. Yeah, you're also on my. You're one of the commenters on my my struggling blog right now. Hello, Rollo. Been a follower for 4 years. Yesterday, my HS girlfriend for 7 years Unalived herself. Oh, great. Okay. I thought I was over her long ago. High school girlfriend. But now I feel destroyed. What does that say about me? It makes you human, dude. That's what it says about you. I hadn't talked to her for about 5 years. It makes you had a connection to her. You know what destroyed me? Pat Campbell dying. Did I want to get in bed with him? No. God forbid. But yeah, that was really that. I took that tough. My mom died before that. My mom literally died a year before Pat Campbell did, and almost like pretty close to the day. Well, he was in October. That was rough. Very rough. What does that say about me? I cared about the life of a good friend and mentor. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that. You're just human, dude. Like if somebody you knew whose death didn't affect you, then I don't know. I think a lot of people think that I am against emotion. Like I just said a minute ago, you'll never be happy. Well, that's by design, right? It's not like you won't feel happiness. You will, but there's a purpose, a function to that. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to say, oh, you'll never be happy. You're going to be depressed. Just get used to it or off yourself. That's not what I'm saying. Oh, YOLO, you again. Hi, what do you think about going back to childhood psychology to heal trauma through understanding, feeling, and replacing negative thoughts? I would say this. Do so by getting off your fucking ass and going out and doing something. You will feel much better about yourself and replacing negative thoughts if you're actually out there replacing negative thoughts, doing yourself a service. Stop thinking about healing trauma. Stop thinking about, oh, I got to do this regression therapy. I got to go get in a sensory deprivation tank, and I got to pretend I'm still in the womb and go back in time in my brain. No, you don't. You know what you need to do? Get your fat ass in the gym. Go out and do something. Find a purpose. Get your ass out there and go, 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 go. Don't sit around and navel gaze and wonder why mommy didn't love you. Like, at what point do you get over that? At what point do you go, you know what? This is not getting me anywhere. You only get what you've gotten if you keep doing what you've done. And if you keep doing what you've done is, I don't know about what I have all this trauma and everything from my prior life. No, that's anxiety that's trying to move you forward. So move forward. Do something different. Clearly what you're doing isn't making you happy. It's not moving you from one condition to another. Here's a better question for you, YOLO. Instead of going back in time, why don't you go forward in time? Where do you want to be? What do you want to be 10 years from now? What do you want to be 5 minutes from now, man? You know where you should be? Right as soon as I end this, you should be in the gym. You should be out in the field. You should be writing the next great American novel. You should be painting the next masterpiece. You should be learning something. Hang drywall, be an electrician. I don't care. Do whatever your passion is. You know what? That will help you get past replacing negative thoughts. Great. You know what you do? You occupy yourself with something productive. Get out. Go do something productive. It's my dad used to do. When I was I can't believe I'm channeling my freaking father at this point. Oh, let's go back in time. Let's regress. Okay, let's regress till I was like 13 or 14 years old. You know what my dad used to do? Every Saturday morning when I was trying to sleep in, because I was just so pissed off and I was just this surly, angst-ridden teenager. You know what my dad would do? He would get up. I swear to God, my dad would get up at like 6 a.m. My dad had a full-time job too. He would get up and he would go to all of our rooms, my brother's room, me, my brother, and my stepbrother. He would go to all of our rooms and he would go on the door. He would knock on because doors would be closed. We all had our separate bedrooms. He would go, get up. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? Like, get up and do something productive. That's all he said. Get up and the day is wasting. And I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, I'm just gonna sleep in. It was a Saturday. I've got to, I got homework later on. That's about all I got to do. My dad could not abide by people sleeping past like 7:30 a.m. or whatever. Maybe it was because he's an old Navy guy, right? But he couldn't abide by seeing listlessness. Even if you're just out there doing something, you're up and you're like, having breakfast or you're going, trying to do something with the rest of your day. He would just knock on the door. I mean, like violently, boom, boom, get up. What? Get up and do something productive. That's all it was. That's the whole end of conversation. So that's what I'm telling you, YOLO. Get up and go do something productive. I can't believe I'm using that as an example. Any advice for someone who wants to start a red pill YouTube channel? Yeah, here's what you do. Say, 10 reasons why Rollo Tomassi is wrong. He's a fraud. Use my name. That'll develop your channel overnight. No, I'm kidding. Stick to basics. Stick to nuts and bolts. Don't go the emotional route. Don't go the cheesy nachos route, the red meat route, at least not in the beginning. I know I touch on red meat stuff all the time, but I always put a vitamin in the red meat, right? I always try to give you some nutritional value. Stick to basics. Stick to do the things that nobody else is doing, which is sticking to basics. Name's Frankie. Hi, Frankie. Happy birthday. Thank you. You're a godsend in life. I'm a messenger. Let's just say that. Anyway, how would you explain to others that red pill is not an ideology, it is a praxeology? Well, I've said this a million times. So what is an ideology? Ideologies are based on faith. They're based on values, but those values are derived from a belief set, which tends to be emotional. Okay. A praxeology, and I'm going to use it in the Greek version, not the Mises. Well, I forget that. Not in the economic version. I'm going to tell you that a praxeology, because libertarians hate me for that. I don't know how I got libertarian hate, because I use the term praxeology, because apparently only libertarian economists are allowed to use the word praxeology. But actually, praxeology is a Greek term, praxis. Okay, it's a science, it's a practice, it's the understanding and the science of what it is that we do, like behavior, as in that behavior has a purpose. Human behavior, in this case, human behavior has a purpose. Can you apply that to economics? Absolutely. Can you apply that to intersection? Can you apply that to sexual economics? Absolutely. Can you apply that to hypergamy and the red pill? Absolutely. The reason why I call it a praxeology is because it's the best definition I can think of for it right now. Okay? It's not an ideology. I don't care what you do with it. I don't care if you think it's right or it's wrong. I don't care if it fits into your religion or it doesn't. I don't care if it fits into your belief set. I don't care if you think it's not a philosophy. It is not a belief set. It is not a religion. It is not a cult. It is not a ideology, which is what whenever I hear that, especially like I think most recently I've heard, I think it was Hafiz from the Roommates was saying this to Adam Sosnick. Well, what do you think about, he's like, the red pill ideology or the red pill philosophy, right? Like, it's not a philosophy, asshat. What people do with it, they might try to fit it into their own philosophy, but red pill by itself is a praxeology. I tried to make that case, but people don't, like, they get hung up on that word praxeology in the way that the classic Greek way of defining it is it's simply a loose science is what it is. It's like we write it in pencil, and if something changes, we change it. We erase it and we change it. We reserve the right to change our mind about it, right? That's number one. The thing is if you have a philosophy and you have a belief set and you have a religion and you have a doctrine and you have an ideology and you have a philosophy, you write it in pen. You put it in ink. And if it ain't right, you're not right. And you don't reserve the right to say, well, I believed this once, but now I don't believe this. Then you have this crisis of faith and you have this crisis of identity because you're so married to this philosophy you wrote in pen. The thing about praxis, that's what rubs people the wrong way. Well, if you really have felt strongly about it and it was a conviction for you, then you would write it in pen. No, it's a praxeology. It's a loose science. It's the reason why the study of why human beings do what they do, and what's the incentive and what's the operative, the latent function and purpose of doing it. That's all it is. What you do with that, those are the tools. That's the Chilton Manual. It's the textbook. It doesn't care if it's right or wrong. It only cares if it's true or it's false. Jesus Christ, who's calling me right now? Am I making too much noise for you? Excuse me. I'll take this call. Hello? No clue. Who the hell's calling me anyways? You don't need to call me. Somebody trying to call me? I got my cell phone. Oh, I have it on. I also have it on Do Not Disturb, but see, I try to give you my undivided attention and then somebody tries to call me. I knew that was going to happen. I've never had a phone call at the Hyatt Centric when I'm in Miami. I've never had a phone call on a hotel phone in Dallas. I've never had when I was in Houston, didn't have one there. When I was in Connecticut, didn't have one there. Sure as shit, the moment I started to do a live stream for the first time off of here, hello. Okay, so that's a praxeology. Well, let's see if I can fire through these. I got to get some food, man. I'm starving. Want to thank you finally for reading your book and bought 2 copies for my older brother going through a divorce. No one should consider themselves red pill without reading your book. I agree. Thank you for the kind words, my friend. Rollo, you're a cult leader. I'm not a cult. That's not you, but Rollo, you're a cult leader. I'm not a cult leader. You know what I am? I'm an army leader. Rollo, a chick who sought me out ghosted me, which doesn't bother me, but I might see her again due to work obligations. What should I do when I see her? Keep her at arm's distance. Watch medium as the message. If you really insist on doing something, honestly, you should probably develop other options as well. But if you want her as one of your options, then remember that she ghosted you once before. And it's almost like it's like iron rule Tomassi number 7. Don't root through garbage once you've taken it to the curb, or you've been taken to the curb. So keep that in the back of your head. I would say no, don't make her anything more than sport fucking. Only just found you yesterday. I'm binging on your videos. Well, thank you. Trying to figure out how your message applies to gay couples. I will tell you, actually, men and women, does each party take on a male and female role? Yes, they do. The need for a dominant and a sub is part of the human condition, part of our firmware. So the dynamics of like a dominant and a sub still transfers over, by the way, to homosexuals. There's always, like, if you look at a butch, like, female, a bull dyke, right? You look at a butch lesbian versus the femme lesbian, the lipstick lesbian. There's always a masculine. There's always a feminine. Same thing for homosexual guys. There's a dominant and a sub. There's the guy who's there's the top and the bottom, right? I mean, for lack of a better term. So that we crave that as human beings. We want somebody to be the masculine. We want somebody to be the feminine, right? That's how it works. I've talked about that, by the way. Before you go looking for a video on that, I don't think I've ever done a video just particularly for homosexuals, but I have done essays about that. So if you go to therationalmale.com and just type in the word homosexuality, you'll probably get the essay I've written. What bands do you like other than Lamb of God? Right now, or like historically? Let's see, who do I like right now? You know, it's funny. Well, Lamb of God's great, but that's not recent. I've liked them forever. I like Lich King. I don't know if people know Lich King. They're a classic. I won't say classic. They are a thrash band, but they're a newer thrash band. They've been around actually for a long time, but I really like Lich King. I like I'm talking about thrash bands. I like Warbringer. I like Death Angel, which is an old school 80s one, but they're still around today. I really like Mark's vocals, and I like Ted's guitars on Death Angel. I will always go watch those. I'm trying to give you like non-obvious ones. I mean, clearly I like, the classic Slayer. Go listen to Slayer. Trying to think who else have I been listening to a lot lately. I mean, I like Ghost. As schmaltzy as that sounds, like Ghost looks like hardcore, but like they sound like Scooby-Doo chase music. I really like Ghost. I mean, they scratch an itch for me, I guess. There's a really great band. Okay, they're not a thrash band at all, but they're kind of like a punk jazz fusion kind of band. I can't even really place it, but they're called the Viagra Boys. Go look up Viagra Boys. I like their stuff. I like their stuff a lot. And it's kind of a jazz punk fusion kind of, and I think they're from Denmark or from Holland. They might be Netherlands. I'm not sure. I forget where they're from. It might be Poland even. I'm not really sure. They are a European band for sure, but the vocals are very unique. The rhythm patterns, I guess, are pretty unique. But if I had to put a characteristic to it, I would say it's kind of like this punk jazz fusion. There's a few for you right there. Shout out. Oh, you know who else I like is from as far as rap is concerned, I really like Big B. Go look at Big B. Shout out to you, Rollo. Your books and videos saved me from the Matrix. I appreciate it. I'm 36. What can I do to improve my social life? Get out there. Go out and fail. Go out and learn social skills by doing. If you're 36 years old, that probably means you're like the latter half of the millennial generation. So I would suggest going out and actually being like, you got to learn in real time as far as your social life is concerned. So get out and do stuff and like get out of the house. It's so easy to get like, and I know because like when I come out here, I'm like, man, I could just chill on the couch and I could just do this. And then I'm like, but I don't want to do that. I went over here and I was hanging out like literally within walking distances, Kiyosaki's studio from here. And this is a nice place. I can just stay here and just chill and just order Uber Eats and just go give me some fat fuck and just sit down. And I'm like, I'm going to go out and get some tacos. I'm going to go walk around and see what the life is like out here. And that's what I did. And so you just have to force yourself. I hate to say it, but you have to kind of push yourself out there because it's so easy just to sit indoors and play Homeworld or something. Mr. Tomassi found out about you a month ago. Damn, and you're giving me $200. Thank you very much. I will put it into Ned's college fund and wish to say thank you. Since then, all my effort in self-improvement are solely for self, and life was never better. Good. You're a blessing. Keep up the great work and stay safe. I will do my best. Guy, happy birthday. Thanks for answering my question about guitar practice. Would be cool to jam out together if you ever come to Poland. Maybe. Just saying. Europe is on the docket this year. It might be in this summer. Rollo, are with a lot of tattoos, a women with a lot of tattoos a red flag? How many tattoos are we talking about? I'll tell you what. I don't have so much like I'm probably gonna like rub Rich Cooper the wrong way. I'm not the kind of guy that says, oh, she got a tattoo, I would never have anything to do with her. Well, yeah, if she looks like one of these Walmart chicks who's like big as a whale and she's got tattoos like oddly placed on her thighs, that's a red flag. Sorry, not sorry. That's a red flag, ladies. If she's got one tattoo around her ankle, if she's got some tattoo that's like a little heart like right over her tit or something like that, if she's got a spade with a Q in the middle of it and it's right by her cooter, that's, you know what that means. Yeah, I think it just depends on the tattoo, how many she has and what are the placement of those tattoos. I think you got to be a little more contextual. I'm not against I mean, okay, I play in bands. I've been in bands for a long time. I've banged lots of chicks with tattoos, okay? Some have been fun, some have been not so fun. So it just kind of depends. I think if it's like a big old, if she's like a suicide girl, if you know what a suicide girl is, that's probably a red flag. If she's got tats all the way up to her neck and she's got a sleeves all the way up and she's got like the septum piercing and she's got like the big old gauges in her ears, watch out. Sorry, I really want to look at all of these, but man, we're really getting here. Tossing a coin for the Witcher. Toss a coin. There's actually a metal version of Toss a Coin to Your Witcher I really like. Actually, there's several of them, but there's one in particular I like a lot. I love The Witcher, by the way. I never thought I would. You know what I really like? I'm going to tell you what I really like because this is a Q&A. I really like Moon Knight. Moon Knight is bad, and I know the character from before. I think it's probably scratches an itch because I really liked that character when I was a kid. When I was like 13, 14, I was reading, comic books of that. I guess it would be the the bronze era of Marvel. I'm pretty sure that's when Moon Knight came in. He was like a 70s character, right? He was kind of like an answer, kind of like this really kind of quirky answer to like Batman at the time. But I really think Daredevil was really the answer to Batman. But Moon Knight, They did a good. Hey, you know what? I don't often say this about Marvel, especially these days, or Disney, but they did a pretty good job with that character. I enjoy it. For the first time in a long time, I'm actually into a Marvel franchise, and I like Moon Knight quite a bit. I am watching. What am I watching these days? I don't watch too much TV, quite honestly. I just finished up I binge watched the last season of Last Kingdom, which I got hooked on. And I absolutely loved that series because it's kind of like Vikings, but like better. And it's all historical, and it's just, I mean, it's fiction, but it follows the history of the British Isles and the Danes, because that's my lineage. I'm a Dane. So it was really good. I actually binge watched that inside of like 2 weeks. I'm sorry. I watched Bad Vegan. Yes, I did. I watched, Severance, by the way, on Apple is freaking phenomenal. I love that series. It's almost like The Matrix, but a little bit spookier than The Matrix. It's surreal, and it's all symbolic. It's symbolic, and you have to pay attention to every little thing in there. And maybe that's just like my mentality. It sort of like hits me in the right. It hits differently. I love that series. It's called Severance. It's on Apple streaming service, Apple Plus. I forget what it's called. I like that. What else did I like? Inventing Anna was good. I think it was good. I think they dragged it out a little too long, but it was a pretty good series. I was watching it at the same time as Tinder Swindler. What else am I watching these days? I like to watch like historical fiction. I think maybe that's it. Oh, you know, it's a really good show. Speaking of which, Medici on Netflix is a really good series too. From there, Phoenix, Arizona. I like Phoenix. This is like I said, this is probably, I think maybe it's because it sort of, in a way, it kind of reminds me of Reno. I'm not saying I'm leaving Reno anytime soon, but happy belated birthday. Thank you very much, Seth. Will you ever be selling trial essential? I could actually. I wonder if I would hate to cut CJ out of the creative process, because he's the one that gives me the tabs. But I could. I have them, as a matter of fact. Just picked up an electric again after about 30 years and need some cool riffs to practice. Well, those would be the one. You know what? It's not so much the riffs; it's the timing. That's the thing about. We're not really a gent band. It's like really hard to put a finger on what it is that we do. There's some aspects of gent in our sound. If it sounds like Death Angel, that's probably me. If there's a thrash element to something that we're doing, it's probably me. If you listen to the song Phoenix in the second album, and which title track Phoenix, in the very beginning of it, the intro of it, you'll hear kind of like an acousticy kind of thing. That's me playing. I play the intro on that, and that's me playing an Irish bouzouki in the beginning. I have a great interest in like kind of oddball stringed instruments. I've got by the way, I've got one guy that's sending me a sort of this Viking lute, and he's this guy I know on Instagram, and I'm sorry, dude, I forget your name, but his site is called Instrument. Something was it? He does custom sort of Viking instruments. I think it's called some custom instruments or something. Instrument thing. Anyways, guy's really good. I'll probably show it to you guys. I've actually retweeted what he's reposted on Instagram what he's working on for me. But he's working on a lute for me, and the front of it is a Celtic kind of, I don't say Celtic. It's like kind of like a Viking knotwork art of Ned, of my dog, on the front of it, and it looks really neat. And I love getting custom jobs like that. I love OD Guitars, which is Omer Dosh. He is a luthier out of Israel. I forget where in Israel, but he does custom works. If you ever see the guitar I have with it looks like it's all wood and it's splattered. It's the one that's on the back of my wall all the time. He did the custom job for that. And then I'm trying to get an oud, a Middle Eastern, maybe a Turkish oud. That's going to be my next acquisition because I like that sound as like embellishments for stuff that we put into our stuff. I'm learning. I'm actually still learning things on. I'm learning Irish bouzouki, and I'm learning like old Gaelic and Celtic songs on that, and not because I'm going to go play at the Irish, O'Doul's Irish pub. It's because I like to use that as sort of embellishments in the work that I do. So there's something to keep you. There's a Rollo tidbit. Rollo, does military parade raise testosterone levels? I believe so. I believe that was now. What raises testosterone? God, man, you guys are hitting on all these things I talked about just yesterday, as a matter of fact. Whenever men feel victory, or they feel proud, or they feel like they won something, like accomplishment, I think is what it is. We get a rise, literally, we get a rise in testosterone. So when you are fighting in like MMA fighters, by the way, when they defeat a rival, they get a testosterone boost. Their body naturally produces more testosterone. When you get your ass kicked, your body produces less testosterone. When your sports team, when the Golden Knights finally win a show, or finally actually put in some effort, you'll get a rise, right, in testosterone. For example, like the Raiders win the Super Bowl, and like, yeah, you didn't win jack shit, but you feel good about it to the point where your body goes, yeah, I guess we won something. Yeah, kick up the testosterone. When men get married, their testosterone levels decline unless you do something about it. And then when you get divorced or you suddenly find yourself single again, then after a certain time, your testosterone level rises from when you were single before, which is interesting because what that implies is that there is some sort of evolutionary benefit for men to have a rise in testosterone for defeating a rival, for feeling accomplishment, and for fucking a hot chick or being around hot women, right? Or for being around women with the potential for you to have sex and breed with. That's the underlying latent purpose of that. At least it certainly seems that way. You can make that logically that would work. But I think that's interesting too. It's one of the more fascinating things I think about human biology / psychology. So you get a kick in testosterone when you're victorious, or when you accomplish something, or you feel a sense of accomplishment. Maybe a military parade actually gives you that sort of vicarious feeling of accomplishment. Would you recommend your new laptop? Absolutely, I would. I love this thing. I got a MacBook Pro, and it's not the top of the line. It's the one step down from that. And I tweaked it a little bit. Oh shit, is that coming up? The fan's coming on. Would you recommend the new laptop? Yes, I would. Curtis, there you are. What is the wisest way to regain your wife's respect? Demonstrate, do not explicate. That's the wisest way to do it, because I can tell my wife what I'm going to do, or I can go and do it. Which one of those do you think is going to generate the most respect? If I go, I don't tell my wife I rarely tell Mrs. T what I'm going to do. I mean, unless I'm going to do something like really, like I got to fly somewhere else, or I'm going to be gone for a while, then I'll do that. If I'm going to go, like, for instance, if I create an NFT, right? So we're going to talk about NFT. If I'm going to go do a new project, I'm not going to go, oh, what do you think? Should I do that? I mean, unless it's going to like be something that's really going to disturb the family, I'm not going to bring that up. I'm just going to go out there and do it. And then she's like, oh, I didn't know you like that. Yeah, I do. Cool. And finding out what that is, and if you're a success at it, it's great, right? If you're a failure at it, whatever. At least you did what you did. I would say just like the best way to gain your wife's respect, to get it back, is to go out and do something successful. Oh, hey, Rollo, Robert here in Vegas. When is the convention coming here? You mean the CME? I talked with you about doing the sound. Oh, okay. Oh, so you mean the Rule Zero Live. I don't know. We haven't really talked about that. I've been actually more focused on the CME, which is coming up on the 19th of May, and we'll go to the 22nd. It is in Miami, Florida. If you would like to get tickets through me, you can. They're in the description below. And I will be there. I am not the featured speaker. I'm not the keynote. I am just one other guy that's going to be there, and there are lots of guys that are there. So, for example, myself, Donovan Sharp, Sterling Cooper, Myron and Fresh, and let's see who else is going to be there. Some other speakers from another convention are going to be there, I think, too. I know we just got confirmed Terrence Popp is going to be there. I think Phil Foster's going to be there. Sterling's going to be there. I'm trying to get Justin Waller is going to be on there as well. It's an all-star cast. I mean, this is the summit, right? This is the Red Pill Summit right here. And I will be the first one to tell you, I've been trying to do something like this for a long time, or I saw the use for this. Unfortunately, a pathological, personality got in the way of all that. But I'm not in any way involved in the planning of this. I was just asked to do it, and I'm on board, and I'm going to do it this year because it's in Miami, and because I think that it's worthwhile doing now. And I think we have a lot of opportunity. I think there's a lot of things we can like. There's something for everybody, I think, in Miami. Honestly, I mean, guys really want to come out and they just want to see hot chicks and like try their hand at things. Oh, fine, there's that. John from Modern Life Dating will be there. Troy Francis will be there. I think James Tusk might follow along with him. I don't know if the Tate brothers are going to be there. I don't know. I don't know if they've been approached or if they're going through other avenues, but that's a possibility, I guess. I think who else is going to be there. There's quite a few. Like I said, just go to the CME, CME.com, or go to Donovan Sharp's channel and look it up. Please do buy the tickets through mine because I get if I sell tickets, I get a kickback on those, so that's good. I'm trying to think what else. Who else is going to be at that? It's going to be a good one. Fish Oil Jacuzzi. Love that name. It always amazes me how well you describe the male-female dynamics. Your explanations are fluid, confident, and very well spoken. Almost like I've been doing it for a long time. Please explain why some women cut their hair short after marriage. You brought this up in the past video and didn't elaborate further. Well, they cut their hair short after marriage because they give up. They will say that they cut their hair short because now they have a baby and the baby clings and grabs to their hair and it pulls and it hurts. No, it doesn't. It's because they give up. That's why they don't have to. It's almost like guys giving up too. Like, well, I'm married. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to give a blowjob anymore. I don't have to cut. I don't have to have long hair. I don't have to look good for this son of a bitch. He's locked in. That's why. I mean, that's the long and the short of it anyway. The long and the short. Get it? It's kind of hot here. Oh gosh, 75 degrees. Okay, thank you. Hexflex says, Rollo was having a conversation about grape culture with a friend, and he said that most cases go unreported. What do the statistics say in regard to that? Well, I can tell you in great detail. If you simply go over to the Fresh and Fit podcast and look for the show that I did on grape culture back in August. It was in the beginning of August, right before all the stupid Abba and Preach crap went down. But I did a full, very comprehensive video on that. And that's probably the best. I'll have to just refer you to that because it's simply I could sit here for hours and tell you about it. But I already did that with Myron back in August. So go check that out. Happy birthday, Grateful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to rifle through these things here. Are you guys really hooking up for free with seeking chicks and not paying for it? What are your thoughts on paying for it? I will tell you though. I would never get it for free. Well, if you think that if you're saying to yourself, I will never get it for free, you will never get it for free. If you ask Aaron Clary, you'll never get it for free anyways. Everything is all transactional. And if it wasn't transactional the first couple of times, it will be on time 3, 4, 5, and 6, and there beyond. In a sense, everything between men and women if it doesn't start out as a transaction, it certainly becomes a transaction later on, or you can certainly clarify and classify it as such. So that's one. I think there's still like the jury's still out on all of this. Now, do I agree with Kevin Samuels that we should legalize prostitution and that we're all about sex work and everything should be, we should be cool with that and everything else? No, I don't. And the reason why I say that is because the market needs competition. That's why the sexual market still needs competition. That's number one. Number two is this, is if you buy a man a whore, you get him laid for a night. But if you if you teach a man game, you get him laid for a lifetime. So the problem with that mentality, and this is not, I'm not flaming anybody here, but the problem with that mentality is that it indicates that that's all a guy has ever experienced in his life is transactional sex. I have to do these things. I have to be exceptional. I have to be this. I have to make money. I have to look like this. I have to do whatever, and I'll get laid. Well, to an extent, that's true, but probably not as true as they think it is. So like I was saying before, my notch count is 41, 42. Oh my God, I'm sure you did that in a half an hour, fat kid in Brazil. But the fact of the matter is of that notch count, most of that was when I had nothing. I had 2 freaking nickels to rub together, man. My lifestyle consisted of a pickup truck, my amps, my guitars, and those were my liquid assets, more or less. I was paying for a rental in North Hollywood when I was doing my best in the sexual marketplace. Had nothing to do with money, had nothing to do with transaction. I was somebody, I was an archetype, a character, a role, a look, whatever it is that women wanted to have sex with, and that's what I did. So it's not about paying for it, it's about the context, and it's about where are you positioning yourself, and congruency as well. So I fundamentally disagree with the direct approach, although I will admit that transactions can be something that guys say, well, I can't get it any other way. Hey, Rollo, they say that you're supposed to be mysterious and unpredictable. How can you do this in a long-term relationship? You can't. You can in a way. You can by doing exactly what I just said. You don't have to be like mysterious and spooky. You're never going to, because I've been with my wife for 25 and a half years. She knows what my farts smell like. She knows when I get out of the shower. She knows it's day-to-day life. Can I be mysterious and spooky? Yeah, I can. You know why? Because I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona. I go out and I sit in between, let's see, 6 ratchet hoes on one side and 6 ratchet hoes on the other side. Is that going to stimulate mystery and challenge? Oh, you bet your sweet ass it does. Right? It depends on where you're positioning yourself. You can do it. You can find ways to do it. Most guys won't because they're afraid that if they do, their wife or girlfriend's going to, you're not really like that. Stop trying to be someone you're not. You just have to keep it up. It just have to be fundamental to your personality. I'm rewatching your oldest videos, Red Pill 101 with Patrick Campbell from Oklahoma. Those videos are great quality. Are they? Good. I'm glad. I'm glad you like those. Please keep going and watching those because I get a lump in my throat when I watch myself and Pat. I was just talking about that with Ken McElroy not too long ago because Ken is a good, by the way, if you don't know who Ken McElroy is, he's a real estate guy and he's like really tight with Kiyosaki. And I really want to do some video with Ken because he's just a bro. He's a funny guy, right? And another guy, short, but definitely done very well for himself. He is definitely short. I don't think he's like under 5'9". He's got to be like 5'7", maybe somewhere around there, but definitely done very well for himself. It's funny to see him standing next to Robert Kiyosaki because Robert is like 6'2", and I'm 5'11", and Ken's probably like 5'8", maybe. Sorry, Ken, I don't know how tall you are, but it's funny. I'll tell you what's interesting is like one of the things I have discovered, and I'm gonna cut the stream here in just a second, but one thing I have discovered here is the guys who I work with in the manosphere, the guys who are doing something right now tend to be tall. Like Justin Waller, 6'3", I believe. 6'3", certainly well above 6 foot. George Gammon, 6'4", 6'5". He's taller than Justin is. Let's see who else. Myron Gaines, 6'2", right? Myron, he's definitely taller than I am. Who else? Who else is really super tall in the manosphere? Well, Robert Kiyosaki, very tall. Trying to think of who else I know in the manosphere is very, very tall. He's like a real go-getter. But it seems like the people that I meet who do well with women, obviously, but are also like kind of on top of their game, like money-wise as well, they tend to be taller individuals. And I don't know, again, maybe, correlation is not causation, but every time I stand between like Robert Kiyosaki and like George Gammon, I look like a manlet. I look like I'm like 4 foot tall next to these guys. And it's like, I'm 5'11". These guys are just super friggin' tall. So I know it's fun. Hammerhand is 6'5". Really? No. Really? How tall is, God damn it. If Razor Fist is watching this or anybody knows Razor Fist, tell him to get in touch with me. I'm in Phoenix. I would love to hang out with him and do a show with him, or like just go get tacos or some shit like that. I know he's in Phoenix. So if anybody knows Razor Fist, I know he follows me on Twitter. I tried to get in touch with him, but he's apparently a very busy guy. I would love to do a show or just I don't know, just hang out and yuck it up. So anyways, all right, we've been doing this for about 3:20. I am going to kill the stream because I need to go get some food and this fan won't stop. So thanks for watching today. I hope you guys got something out of this. Thank you for all the good birthday well wishes. Again, the CME is coming. It will be on May 19th through the 22nd in Miami, Florida. I know what the host hotel is now, and I will be happy to, well, I can't say anything about it right now, but I think it would be a lot of fun. There's a lot of shenanigans going on in the background too, so just so you know. But just to let you guys know, I will be there in Miami on May 16th through the 23rd. I'm getting there a little bit early because I have to go do George Gammon's collective the weekend before. So once I'm done with that, I fly from Dallas to Miami, and from there, I'll be there from the 16th on. I'm going to do some extracurricular activities, some like side events for the CME, but most of those will be beforehand. So from the 16th to the 18th, those 3 days, one of those days we're going to go deep sea fishing. The other days, I don't know what we're going to do. Maybe we're just going to hang out. Maybe we're going to go to, well, let's see, I'll probably stay at the Centric. So we'll probably do something at the Centric or at the lounge or whatever. Certainly Fresh and Fit will be a thing. We'll definitely be hanging out. So there's going to be a lot of extra add-ons, let's just say. And the only way you're going to find out about those is if you are a Patreon subscriber to me, which you can find the link in the description, or you can just hit me up on Twitter or wherever else and say, I want to be a part of that, and I'll help you. I'd be happy to put you on the list anyways. And then if you aren't on the mailing list, which is the RationalMale, MAIL.com, or not, it's you can just go to the Rational Mail, my blog, and you can sign up. It's a little pop-up will come up. And that'll put you on the list so that you'll get the announcements for the book that is coming out at the end of next week. So as soon as I get it back from my editor, who is compiling it for an e-publication, so it'll come out on Kindle and print at the same time, then we'll start working on, well, Audible, I usually hold off for about 3 months before I release that because I kind of want to let the book read on its own. But that's coming out. It will be out certainly by the end of next week. I'll give you the exact date. I'm being a little cagey with it because I know Anthony Johnson and the rest of these fuckwits are going to try to do something to sabotage it. So I'm not going to tell you when it's coming out. But you'll know. If you're on those lists, you'll definitely know ahead of time. So go check that out. I will do a midweek show probably on Wednesday. And if you are part of the Patreon community and you are in our Zoom conference calls, or if you're not in those, you can go ahead and sign up at it's the $200 level on Patreon. That gets you in for a 2-hour long, once a month Patreon conference call between myself and I think we got 14 guys now. It's increasing. So if that's something you want to do, that's great. I still am going to be doing one-on-one counseling. I have been kind of lax in that because I'm trying to finish the book. Once the book is in the wild, then I will pick up counseling once again. So if you've been waiting on me to get back to you, you'll probably get a response from me, I would say, as soon as the book is out and gone. So that's coming up soon. And I think that's all I have to do day. So go get your tickets to the CME right now. If you want to go, like, get your PTO, whatever you got to do, set aside a week for your vacation, whatever. You want to come hang out with a bunch of guys. You want to go and do some stuff. You're going to see some beautiful women out there. It's a beautiful environment. It's right by the ocean. You can go fishing. You can go drink. You can go to have a cigar, whatever it is. You just want to hang out and be a bro for a week for the first time in your life. Come on and do that. And then don't forget the Rich Dad podcast is coming out probably, I would say, midweek. So I'll let you guys know when that happens. That was a really good interview. And by the way, tomorrow I'm going on with them again. I'm doing a second podcast with Robert Kiyosaki tomorrow at 8:15. I don't think it'll be live, but if it is, I'll let you know. But that's why I'm sticking around. That's why I'm here on a Sunday. And then once I'm done, then I'm going to go back home. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, guys. Much appreciated. Love you, and I'll see you later. Bye.